Okay, everybody, I am here. Thank you, Latoya, for this wonderful introduction. Welcome again, everybody, to another session, or rather our final session on financial literacy this evening. So I just want to go through a few house rules like I normally do, and just give you what you should expect this evening and how we're going to let this flow and have a fantastic evening. So I'll guide you through the presentation as usual. I have allocated some time at the end for discussions and questions to ensure that everybody can participate and gain as much as possible out of the session. As you are aware, we missed Tuesday, so we're combining two things this evening. I'm okay to stay a little longer. I have been asked if it's okay, and that's perfectly fine if we have to, if the time is needed. This evening, again, like everything else, understanding financing can be a bit challenging, and we all come from very diverse backgrounds with various degrees of familiarity to financing, to business. So I just want each and every one of us to be supportive and respectful towards each other's experiences and questions this evening. If something isn't clear and you need clarification during the presentation, you can raise your hand, or preferably you type in the chat. If you type in the chat, I do have another monitor that I can see what you're writing. If it's relevant to the time, I will answer. If not, I'll get back to it when I think it's relevant. Okay, privacy. Should you need to share any personal or sensitive information, I would encourage you to do that in a private message. This will help maintain your confidentiality. Like Latoya said earlier, let's use the opportunity to learn, support, empower each other. Every question or insight shared enriches our collective understanding. All right. At the end of tonight's presentation, I will provide everybody with details as how they can reach me for additional resources and assistance. For those of you who have sent me emails, who have asked questions, I have responded to all of them. I hope I have answered them and that you are a little bit more enlightened on your financial journey. So thanks for your attention, and let's have a productive session. So, hello again and welcome to my sisterhood who is joining us tonight from St. Vincent, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. I always forget to say the Grenadines. It's truly a pleasure for me to be here with you all again. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time. You guys have allowed me to think about ways I can go back in my personal life and do things to support you all even more, to be an advocate for you all. So over the past 3 sessions, we have looked at essential topics like personal finance and access to credit. I believe you've been equipped somewhat with some knowledge and tools to manage your finances, and I hope you can do so effectively. Throughout this entire program on financial literacy, we've explored foundations of personal finance, emphasizing the importance of budgeting, savings, and making informed financial decisions. Understanding how to access credit has also been a vital component, and it allows you to leverage financial resources for personal and business growth. Your active participation and engagement during these discussions have been inspiring, and I commend each of you for your commitment to enhancing your financial knowledge. So today's focus will be setting up business and understanding business taxes and regulations. So as we conclude our program, we turn our attention to an exciting yet pivotal topic, setting up a business. Many of you may have dreams of entrepreneurship, and today's session will provide you with the valuable insights into steps involved in starting your own business or enriching, enhancing, and growing or building a successful business. We will cover important topics such as identifying business opportunities, creating a business plan, legal structures, understanding business taxes and regulations, some things most businesses don't like to talk about, or people who run businesses, and it's inevitable. And most times it catches up with us, and the penalties can be quite, how should I put it, not disheartening, but it can affect us in ways that I will explain to you later. Also, compliance with regulations. Understanding the importance of compliance with local laws such as employment, NIC, and what the ramifications for not doing so may be. Financial record keeping. I will not be able to speak enough about that, whether it's your personal or business, but more so importantly for your your business. I just saw Kiflin Karu posted a a grant that's available to small and micro businesses. For those of you who haven't looked at it in the chat, please do, because I will be making reference to it this evening because I had an opportunity to go and look and see what the criteria were. So I will be making reference to it and possibly giving you some advice on if you qualify and whether or not you should apply. Looking at it, I am genuinely excited to guide you through this topic today. The knowledge you gain will empower you not only to pursue your entrepreneurial aspirations, but also to navigate the complexities of running a business successfully. Remember, entrepreneurship is not just about making money, it's about creating value, contributing to your community, and achieving personal fulfillment. I know this because this is how I feel when I start a new business. When the business is doing well, when I look for ways for this business to improve and make more money. As we embark on this final session, I encourage you to ask questions, share your thoughts, and engage in discussion. Together, we can create a supportive learning environment that fosters growth and collaboration. Let's make the most of the opportunities and take the next steps to building great businesses that will thrive in our communities. So let's get started. So the presentation will focus on the topics that I have here. So at the end of the evening, these are the things I would like us to be able to go back and see whether or not we've met those objectives. So business, setting up your business, understand the basics of setting up a business planning, developing a clear business plan that includes goals, targets, markets, competitive advantage and financial focus. Registration and compliance. So even now I can go back to this grant funding thing I saw in the thing. For you to be able to apply it, one of the first things I saw in the criteria is that you have to be registered. So ask yourselves, are you registered? What type of business do you have? Is it a business name? Is it a corporation? And how that is going to impact you should you apply for that particular grant. Learn the steps for registering your business and complying with local regulations. Understanding business taxes, the unavoidable. What is the common term? The two things that are certain is paying taxes and dying. I would like you to gain some knowledge about your specific tax responsibility associated with the type of business structures you choose to go. So if you choose to have a sole proprietorship or a partnership or a corporation, what are the taxes obligations to these particular business structures? I understand the importance of adhering to industry-specific business guidelines. I will touch a good bit on financial management in your business, paying yourself. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to go just outing, and I always try and engage women vendors that I see. And I'm just making a quick reference to that. And I met two vendors, and they were selling almost identical things. And one of them, the prices were reasonable. The other one, the prices were so cheap. So I went to her and I was just curious, why are your prices so different to the next person? And her answer was that she does it herself, so she doesn't need to sell it that expensive. And no matter how much I try to explain to her that that's not a good business, she was adamant. So tonight, I know there's a lot of you who have businesses who don't pay yourself, and I want to turn that around. So I want you to learn how to determine a fair salary for yourself as business owners and understand the implications of your business finances and taxes. Keeping financial records, I cannot stress that enough. Latoya and your respective coordinators would have shared some Excel sheets that I sent to you today. As we go through the presentation, I will go through them. I probably sent you more than you need, but I know not everybody can afford QuickBooks, which will be able to do everything that I sent for you. But I wanted to give you a basis of what you can do if you just put the time aside for admin, or perhaps get one of your children or family member to assist you with it. It is in pounds. I'm sorry about that, but my system is British because I spend a lot of time and work there. So most of my stuff is in pounds because I deal a lot with pounds. But it's quite easy to just go on the Excel and change it from pounds to dollars. So my apology about that. We'll speak a little bit about lending and borrowing, gain insights into options for financing for businesses, including loans, grants, Understand the criteria used by lenders to evaluate borrowing eligibility. Sustainable business practices. I will talk a little bit about financial literacy again, and you're not going to be tired of hearing that word. And secondly, I will speak about risk management. So as we achieve these objectives, I am hoping you'll be equipped not only to start your business, but also to manage the finances efficiently and sustain growth for those of you who already have businesses. This education will empower you to make informed decisions, leading to a stronger economic foundation for your business. So, why start a business? Why do we start a business? In many settings where jobs are scarce and economic conditions are often challenging, women particularly turn to entrepreneurship. And my presentation this evening will be specifically about women. Of course, all of you are women, but also I want to focus because we seem to have more disadvantages when it comes to starting a business, running a business, keeping a business going. So I will speak a lot about women entrepreneurship. So many women turn to entrepreneurship as a direct route to financial stability. The decision to start a business is frequently driven by the need to generate income. And I am sure most of you will agree with me. 90% of people do not just start business for fun. They think about doing business because they need to generate incomes, whether it's to support their families, improve their standard of living. This financial motivation, although pragmatic, is a powerful catalyst for women to step into the realm of business ownership. Starting a business primarily for monetary gain is a common and completely legitimate motivator. It's completely reasonable, and there should be no shame in saying, I'm starting a business because I want to make money. Because I have no shame. When I start a business, I just want to make money. I don't want it to fail. I want to make money today, tomorrow, and I want it to continue to make money. However, as these businesses begin to establish themselves, the initial focus on money ideally broadens into a more holistic view of entrepreneurship. This evolution in mindset is critical for long-term success and involves several key transformations. So for instance, for me, initially, just like everybody else, when I started business, I needed extra income. I went into it. But now I do need the extra income still. I do enjoy it, but then it has brought me to you, where now I can maybe share my experiences, where I will tell you towards the end about a, something that is happening that you may be able to participate in at the end of the year. So I feel like being in business and particularly working with so many women farmers and entrepreneurs, it has built my social conscience to be able to help and empower more women. There is enough for all of us. We can collaborate, we can support, we can help, and we can all do better. So starting a business does not have to be because you notice your friend is doing, let's say, passion fruit ice lollies, and it's selling so well. So guess what? You're going to start it too because it's making money. And I say so because I know for St. Lucia, when there's a crop that's making a lot of money, you'll find the next year, instead of people diversifying to other things, they come into the same market and then they create a glut, thereby bringing down the price. What I would like to share with you all this evening, and you can make a note to ask me about it a bit later, is that in terms of particularly the Helen's Daughters communities, there are so many areas that you can work, make money, support based on your passion, your goals. And we'll come into that in the next part of the next slide, perhaps, in setting up a business and what you should do. But I wanted to bring that up so you can think when we get to the next part. So for instance, we have a lot of women farmers who sell at our farmers market. And I don't know if the farmers market has started in St. Vincent or St. Kitts yet, but I know it's coming to you. So you have a product you come to sell, but ideally what the customers like is visual. So for instance, if you are a member of Helen's Daughters and you have a particular skill set or passion for graphics and arts, there is absolutely nothing wrong with, you don't have to come and sell produce. You now can come up to the farmers market and see what needs the other women at the farmers market have in terms of presenting their products better, in terms of creating graphics, making stickers, making labels for them. So there is always a business idea. Secondly, a lot of our farmers are not equipped or are not versed in social media. You may be one that loves being on social media. You probably could make an income from it by offering to promote your farmers' businesses in exchange for small amounts of money or what you think it's worth. But there is so many business ideas we can do collectively, even as our focus is on agriculture. Okay. So women entrepreneurs move beyond the startup phase. Their focus often shifts towards sustainability. So after you've started the business, you start doing well, you now have to figure out a way as to how to sustain it. That means developing a business model that not only generates profit, but can also stand the test of time. Are you guys aware that 80% of businesses that start fail within the first 18 months? That's a huge percentage. And I will tell you later the reasons why that happened. But when you start a business, it's starting to do well, you have to be able to sustain it. And which is why we go back to the part where I said, pay yourself. And you'll understand later. Most businesses that you don't pay yourself, you will always struggle. It's like a perpetual hole, and you're not going to be able to get yourself out of it. Okay? So we'll speak about that later. Um, Creating a viable business involves strategic planning, understanding the market, and continuously adapting to changes. So that's another thing that we we tend to have a bit of a lagging thing. So you may have started a business 20 years ago and it was doing well. 20 years ago, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. So somebody else who probably has a crop product, but who can reach the market in a more modern, less traditional way will probably do better than you. So that is where coming into place of understanding your market and consistently adapting to the changes. So you always have to look at the people with the disposable income. Where do they see things? Where do they access things to buy? At the moment, I believe it's the millennials and the Gen Zs. And what are they interested in? Instagram, Facebook. You probably can put an ad on Facebook for, I know, for instance, for maybe the equivalent of 10 US. So that's 26 EC dollars for a whole week. And it can reach 10,000 people. You know, you don't have products for 10,000 people and you might only get 20. But putting out an ad that will cost you 10 US for 10,000 for 20 customers, that should be worth it. That's an expense to your business. And thereby you'll be generating more money, bringing in new clientele who in turn will spread the word that you have a product that is viable, that you can sell, and that can help your business, like we put it earlier, stand the test of time. So with the growth of the business, there is also a need to adopt best practices. This includes everything from improving your financial literacy and management skills to embracing ethical business practices and sustainable methods of production. Good practices ensure that your business does not only survive, but it thrives in competitive markets. And when I say good practices, we talk about financial literacy. As it pertains to businesses, people will start financial recording one day and they do not understand that they have to continue it. Whether you're doing good, whether you're down, you need to continue financial recording. So I'm taking you back again to the grant that was posted in the group today. When you look at the criteria for the grant, it says you have to have audited statements or statements that are up to the international standards for the last 2 years. So you can't go now to apply for a grant that the deadline is July and make shift of financial statements. If I am an auditor and I'm looking at it, I'll be able to tell you just made that. So hence the reason why I have been encouraging you from the time I did the TCOSE. Keeping financial records is not about you. Imagine you have not kept any financial records and your business is going for 2 years, because the criteria is your business must be going for 2 years. And you have an opportunity now to get a grant, not a loan, a grant, meaning you don't have to pay it back, for up to 30,000 US. Actually, I'm not sure if it's US or EC it is. I'll have to clarify that. But whatever it is, let's say 30,000 EC. But just because you have not kept records, that already automatically disqualifies you. And I am a big proponent for record keeping. Record keeping all the time, every day will save you in your business and your personal finances, which is why I encourage you in your personal finances to use online banking. Because if you don't remember, if you use online banking on a card or you make a transfer to somebody, you can make a note. When you receive the bank statement, it becomes a record keeping where you can say, I spent the money here, I paid this, I received this, and this is what it was. So I cannot stress enough about good practices, right? In terms of managerial skills, there is an element of managerial skills that comes with good business. So sometimes you can have a business, for instance, and I'm going to use that. You could be a cake maker and you make the most delicious cakes. But if you cannot, and let's say you happen to open a bakery and you have to employ people and you cannot manage those people, you are going to fail. So the initial stages of a business, normally you cannot employ many people. So some of the slack will have to come from the business owner. That's understandable. But learning how to manage people, and then when you employ people, if you pay taxes on their behalf, you pay national insurance on their behalf, you pay insurances on their behalf, these are things you have to keep up to date with. Because if you have an employee and they fall sick and they go and submit their sick certificate and you haven't paid their NIC, then you can get in trouble. So these are the things I want you to think about. It doesn't have to be on a high scale level, but there's a certain level of organization and managing your time that comes with a business. You cannot run a business successfully if you are constantly focused on the production side of it and of supplying side, but you have not given any time to the financial recording aspect of it, and also of the not just the financial recording aspect, but the administrative side of it. And administrative doesn't only include record keeping, banking. So, for instance, if you keep selling stuff and you have the money at your home and you haven't deposited in the bank, of what good is that? It embraces a lot of things, even following up with your customers. How many people make time to follow up with their customers if they sold something with them to check and see, was it okay? Or to get some feedback. Generally, you assume that these people will always come back. Any good business focuses on their customers as well. Customer service, that's adopting a good practice. I have experiences where I walk into the farmers market in Rodney Bay or Point Seraphine in St. Lucia. And the farmers would just be sitting. Nobody would stand up and say, hello, how are you doing? Whether or not somebody is buying from you, you will be shocked if your customer service is good. Sometimes your product is not that good, or that to the person your product is not that good, but because of how you approach them, they will feel almost obligated to give you a sale. It's human nature. So treat people well, stand up, say hello, greet them, and you will find it makes a significant difference in the approach people have towards you and buying your business. If so you sell something to somebody and they come back to complain, don't behave badly. Take it as a loss. Offer to either give them their money back, and I know sometimes it's not always possible, or offer to give them something else in return. But these are good business practices I would like to see, that if you start your business or you have a business going already, that you can implement into what you are doing. Running a business can significantly alter a woman's self-perception and societal role, right? Particularly in rural areas. You know, I don't know if any of you are business owners, but people tend to have that perception of you if you're running a business. If you're doing well in the business, which means that you're hardworking, you will either find two people. People will say, oh, she's not doing that well. Or everywhere you go, boss lady, boss lady. You know, it commands a certain amount of respect. It empowers you both professionally and it enhances your self-confidence and skills when you're able to provide employment in your community, when you're able to be respectful to people in your community, because you rely on not just your workers. So you don't only have to be nice to your customers, you also have to be nice and engaging with the people that you employ, because that is the backbone of your business and continuing. Okay. And for those of you who are starting small businesses, I want you to always think about when you are an employee. Think about the things that you perceived your bosses to have done and think about implementing it. As a woman entrepreneur myself and as a mother, some of the things I take pride in when I employ people, my staff, if they need time off to go to their child's recital, I make sure it happens. And I understand that there are times when you have to do things to be able to benefit your staff. And as women, I think we need to be mindful of that so we can have better workforces. We can have people that become more productive because of these little things we do for them. Okay, so I want you to be mindful about that, not just as you start a business, but if you're already running them. So while the initial impetus of rural women to start a business may almost always be money, the journey does not stop here. As they navigate through the complexities of running a business, their motivations and aspirations evolve. This transition from simply making money to creating a sustainable, impactful, and respected business is not just beneficial, but necessary for lasting success. Owning a business can provide women with a sense of achievement and self-worth. As business owners, women gain confidence, control over decisions that affect their professional and personal lives. Businesses can potentially generate more income than traditional employment. Did you hear that bit? Not potentially, I can attest to that. Businesses can generate more income than traditional employment. But most of us are so fixated on the fact that we have a job and we have a steady income. And those of you who remember, I think it was last week when I gave you two scenarios. I'm not sure who read the scenarios, but one of them, the person was employed and they wanted to get a loan for business. And the bank refused them on the basis that they would not be able to give enough time to their businesses. And that's what happens. If you have a full-time job and you're doing a business full-time, inevitably one will suffer. And I do understand people have financial commitments that they sometimes cannot give away the steady paycheck from. But everything in life is about calculated risk. And you have to believe in yourself and in what you're doing for you to be able to attain financial freedom. So you have to be able to make that decision along with advisors around you, along with adopting good business practices like paying yourself. And this will all come to fruition. So those of you who have questions about that later, I'll be happy to answer. Job creation. Small businesses are the primary source of new jobs in all our communities, islands, and regions. Small businesses employ more people, right? So by starting a business, you can contribute to the economic development of not just your family, but so many other people's life can be affected by the business you start, which is why you should do it right, because people become to depend on you and people's lives depend on you too. And nobody should ever start a business hoping and thinking that they will always be the only one in the business. That's a bad ethos. If you're doing it, then that's just a job or a hobby. Any serious business, please tell me you're not starting a business for you to make 10,000 EC dollars a year. Your goal should be to make millions of dollars. But in order for you to be able to do that, you have to put the right structures in place from the beginning to be able to grow. You will make mistakes, you may fail, but I never look at it as failure. I look at it as lessons learned. My uncle, who's my mentor, I'm in business, he often tells me, you start a business, it doesn't work. Sometimes you may need to stop and start a new business again, but don't give up. Go back and see what you did wrong in the other business and do better. And I can always tell you, most times is the record keeping that keeps us behind. We spoke earlier about um, how you can generate more income than traditional thing. So for me, okay, maybe wealth is the better word. For me, wealth is not just about money. What I look at too in running my own business is the work-life balance. When I worked a 9 to 5, I worked long shifts. It was not really benefiting me. I got the same salary no matter where I worked. And while having your own business, you may not make the same amount of money every month. But you'll have good months, you'll have bad months. And again, that's where managing your money comes. Are you able to manage your money for the not so good days? Right? Are you able to manage your money for the not so good days? Right? And if you are not, then what happens? But what having a business does, it allows you a work-life balance. At the moment, I can decide to stop work, put things on pause, and fly away to go for vacation. I have a friend who's visiting in a week and a half. I will take a few days off just to go to the beach or do something. If I was employed, I would not be able to do that. So, what I want you to remember is the flexibility that working or starting your business affords you, and to remember to take it even from the first year or the second year, because there's a real thing called burnout in starting your own business. It's real, it causes your business to fail, it causes you emotional and physical distress. You need to create a work life balance from the beginning. Treat it as if you were the CEO of a huge company in your country, and always think about yourself as the CEO so you can empower yourself to do better, to be better. Okay? So, sorry, that was a lot about why to start a business or to continue running an effective business. So, I will move now into setting up a business. I'm going to try and guide you into how to set up a business. As you can see, I have a light bulb there. Now, what many people don't take kindly to, and I'm quite blunt and open, and I will tell you, not every business idea is a good idea. And sometimes you there and your family members are saying, yeah, 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 they're just afraid to tell you that'll not work. Not every idea is a good idea. Some things you just need to leave them. So if you see somebody planting watermelon and you see they're making a lot of money because it's there alone, when you now go and plant watermelon, and I'll tell you one industry that happened with CMOS. CMOS in St. Lucia, I remember, I think when I moved back 5 years ago, was going for 25, 30 EC dollars a pound, right? Everybody was planting CMOS. One day we're excited because the price was high. So some people started planting and the price was high. But then they didn't take into account things like water, like getting having to go to the sea every day, predial larceny, all the other things. People, so many people went into CMOS farming, and I could have seen that coming because it's just not suitable for everybody. It wasn't passion. People were driven by just the money. And I do understand most businesses start with money driven. Like I said, you want to make money. But sometimes you have to leave some things well alone. Within 2 years of CMOS being at 25, $30 a pound, CMOS went to 10 and $11. I think CMOS is now, you can get CMOS in St. Lucia for $9 a pound. Yeah. So just because you have an idea, don't just go into the idea, because you'll end up losing more than you'll end up being worse off than where before you started the business. So choosing a business idea, that is the most important thing in starting a business. Every business idea is not a good idea. It may be good for somebody else, but it's not always good for you. So align your passion with the market needs. So I'll take you back a little bit, like when I spoke earlier and said, you might be part of Helen's Daughters, or you've just completed the Ag-cademy. That does not mean that you have to sell produce or fruit. There's so much more to go into the market and so many other things you can do around assisting or providing. The women that are at the market, they sell bottles. Could you possibly become a glass bottle manufacturer, or glass or recycle bottles and sell to them? Perhaps you could collect bottles. We have a whole set of plastics that are going from the juice bottles that we are selling at these markets. Is there somebody who can possibly start a recycling business? And all these things, by the way, there is funding and grant funding for them. So if that was something you were interested in, you now could develop a sustainable business that, yes, incorporates things from Helen's Daughters and what we stand for, but it doesn't have to be that. For every produce. So for instance, people come to the market and we try and keep plastics out. Could you not create some nice bags and come and stand up at the beginning of the market for the people who'd show up and who doesn't have a bag to put the produce and sell it, a reusable bag? All these are ideas. And you may be good at crafting, you may be good at sewing. So align your passion with what the market needs. And I'm using the farmers market because I'm not sure what other fields you are involved in. So please allow me to just focus on trying and make the analogies to the farmers market, where I think most of y'all would be more familiar with. Okay? So not every idea is a good idea. You always should identify with your passion. Get something that reflects your interests and skills. What do you love to do? What are you good at? Because you might love to do something and you're not good at it. I love French. I love French, but I'm not very good at French. So there's a big difference, right? Your passion will drive your commitment and enthusiasm. I love helping people. I love selling things. I love making money, right? But my skill is organization. I am a very organized person. I can do things methodically. If I put my mind to a goal, I will start from where I need to start and I will continue it until I get to that point. So we have to acknowledge our strengths, our weaknesses, right? Access markets. Investigate the needs of your community and your market. What is the market? You're going to sell juice. Who's going to buy juice? Are you going to go and sell juice to a sell of old people that are diabetic by a hospital, or are you going to try and sell juice to young, energetic people who doesn't mind consuming sugar? Or are you going to sell juice to a market of these old people who generally get have the sweet juices, but there's a market for non-sweetened juices? Now, there's a business idea for you. Everywhere I go, I'm at the moment I'm not having any sugar, and I sometimes forget because I quite like juice. So I will get a thing of juice, and when I put it in my tongue, taste it, it's just so repulsive because I haven't been having sugar for a while. So there you go. There might be a market to have juices that are no sugar. You might start a revolution. So if you like making juices, but there's so many people selling passion fruit, golden apple juice, start a juice business with no sugar. So investigate the needs of the market. What products and services are in demand? Consider how your skills and interests can fill those gaps. This is market research. And market research doesn't mean you sit at a computer and you say, what do we need? When you sit at the computer, that's never indicative of what happens. You need to be part of the community. Think about things you need and you cannot access. I always start there. So most of my businesses are based on things that I need that I'm not able to get. So I am a fisher, and they have many boats, they have many people who go out fishing. But there was a lack of sanitized places to clean fish and get it to the market without freezing it. When you freeze fish, you change the texture. So when you buy frozen fish, it's completely different from fresh fish. So I decided to find out, how can I get fish from the sea to the consumer within 36 hours, cleaned, vacuum packed, and in their fridge, that all they have to do is to take it out and season it and cook it. And I was able to do that successfully. So this is what I'm saying. And all this business idea only came about because I wanted that quality of fish for myself. And I thought, how many other people? And I wasn't surprised. Um, I I was how should I put it? There was a satisfaction that there were so many other people who wanted that service. And there are people who possibly didn't even know that service existed who now expects it. So if that's what you make, you can create your own markets as well. Evaluate the practicality of your business idea. Can you realistically turn your passion into a sustainable business? Consider resources, time, and initial investments required. So after we've done the market, how do we determine whether our business idea can actually translate into something sustainable? So you could have a great idea, but can it translate into something sustainable? Because you need money. Every business that starts needs some type of money. Maybe not so much money. It could be a balance between money and time. It could be other resources that you need. Do you have it? How are you going to acquire it to make the business not just function today, but to be sustainable? And that is what a lot of people don't consider. We have this idea we're going to do. Um, I'm not sure which what I can use now, but think about where you are with your business idea and how you can realistically turn it into something. Remember, we spoke on the personal financial literacy side about, sorry, I just lost my train of thought there, but we spoke on the personal financial literacy side about your having 6 months of your expenses. Like, same thing for your business. If you're going to start a business, particularly if you're going to employ people, you need to have some reserve cash so that the business will not always pick up as soon as it starts. And if it does and you make money, you need to learn how to put some aside to be able to reinvest into the business. So these are the things I want you all to think about as we continue, right? So know your target audience, right? Identify your potential customers. What are their preferences, needs, and purchasing behaviors? Um, If you start this business, who are you targeting? So money makes the mare fly. Are you going to go and start a business and sell to millennials and they don't carry cash? They always have their debit cards. Half of them are broke like church mouses, so they don't have money anyway, but they have a credit card. So, in order for you to make money, you will need to have a debit card facility or a cash transfer via bank or cash app or peer to pay or something like that. How are you going to facilitate that within your business to make money? A lot of people tend to believe that having these facilities are going to cost them or is going to keep them back. But imagine you have a business and you made $20 today because you don't have these facilities. But by virtue of having these facilities, you made $1,000. What would you rather? Pay 2% on $1,000 or go home with 20? Think about it that way. There's a cost to doing business. I will talk to you about expensing these things and making it a business expense so it does not interfere with your profit that you make. Okay? So understanding your audience is crucial. Who are you selling to? How are they going to pay you? How can you capitalize on getting them to spend more money with you? One other thing, analyze your competition. Competition is not a bad thing. I love competition, whether it be when I studied at school, whether it's in business. I love a healthy rivalry. You can learn from people or you can learn from your competitors, right? If you're doing well, they're going to want to surpass you. If they're doing well, you figure out what are they doing well that you can do even better to be able to do better for yourself and your business. Okay? What are the strengths and weaknesses? How can you differentiate your business from the competitors, right? You have to look at what are the competitors' strengths and what are their weaknesses and capitalize on that. The insight will help you position your business strategically. Use surveys. Um, Again, that's where the admin part of your time comes in. You can, okay, so later on, I'll talk to you a little bit about using technology to be able to help you. And when you go, I'm using the farmer's market again, and I don't know what scale of businesses you'll have. That was not knowledge that was shared with me, whether you have very small businesses, you have medium businesses. But if you're selling at a market, do you know it doesn't hurt to either get a QR code on your phone, that's technology, get somebody to scan it so you have their information, or simply you can go with a sheet of paper and I can help you all create it if anybody's interested. Just saying name, phone number, email address. And every customer that comes say, do you mind sharing your information with me since you like my product so that I can share any details or let you know when I'm coming to the market and what I will be having? And should I reserve anything or should you want to be able to make an order? These are simple things you can do to be able to help your business or to be able to know where your business is at, right? Feedback. This can provide valuable insights into market trends and competitor strategies. Okay? Business planning. Define short-term and long-term objectives for your business. What do you want to achieve in the first year? A lot of people go into business and they don't have any idea what they want to achieve. So you start business. You should have a goal. If you have no goal, you will be lost. It's not just about making money or making ends meet or living day to day. You must have a business, a plan. You must have some objectives for the short term and the long term. What do you want to achieve in the first year? What are your 4-year goals? Clear goals will guide your decision making process. Develop a business strategy. Outline how you can plan to achieve your goals. What marketing strategies will you employ? How will you reach your targeted audience? Consider both online and offline methods. Financial projections. Prepare a financial plan that includes startup costs, income, projected income, and expenses. This will help you start to understand the financial viability of your business and prepare for potential challenges. That's the other thing. Everybody starts a business blindly, but they never anticipate. We live in a region that is prone to hurricanes. There should always be a contingency. Recently, the pandemic, if it has taught us nothing, is that we should have contingency plans in our business for such, because we don't know when it's going to happen and how it's going to affect us. And then we start suffering from things like depression, the suicidal rates go up because people just cannot cope. But making a plan from earlier on will help you, not just in your business, but in your personal life and in protecting your own mental health and well-being. Okay? So This step-by-step guide that I've just run through with you, that's needed to start your entrepreneurial journey. By aligning your passions with your market needs, conducting thorough research, and developing a solid business plan, you can set the stage for financial business venture. Remember, every successful business starts with a great idea. A great idea, remember that? Not a good idea, a great idea and a well thought out plan. You need to have a plan. Okay? So before I move on to the legal requirements of starting a business, are there any questions? I can take some questions now. I am mindful that we have a little way to go, but yeah, I can take some questions now. Anybody want, Miss Danielle, you just opened my mind to entrepreneurship world. Okay, Mrs. Gopa. Any questions? Any? No questions? Are you guys kidding me? Nothing you want to ask me or tell me? Okay. Latoya, I can't see, but is anybody's hand raised?
Currently, no.
Oh yeah, Miss Gopal. Okay, we'll take Miss Gopal's question.
Yes, sorry.
And Mindley Fitz. Okay. So we'll take these two and then we'll move on. So go ahead, Miss Gopal first. Okay, three. That's it there. You'll have to take three and then we'll move on. So Miss Gopal, go first. Then we'll take Miss Fitz. I believe her hands was up. If I don't see it up again. And then the third person will be Miss Bronte Swanson. So go ahead, Miss Gopal Joseph.
Miss Joseph, you
Okay,
may
I
go
can't hear
ahead.
her. Okay, she's not speaking. So let's do Miss Bronte Swanson.
Okay, thank you very much. Excellent presentation so far. I just wanted to support the point that you made in reference to persons operating businesses going the route of being able to accept payment cards, debit and credit cards as a form of payment. Because certainly we're seeing more and more persons now not walking around with cash and wanting to use their debit and credit cards as a form of payment. So it really is critical that businesses offer customers that option for payment. So excellent point.
Thank you very much. So Miss Gopal, I'll come back to you. I see a question in the thing. How legitimate is grant funding availability? I'm not sure what the questions is asking, whether grant funding is legitimate. If the fund is available, then I'm not sure why it's not legitimate, Miss Fontenelle. So maybe you can be a little bit more specific, so I can guide you, but it's a little bit, the question is not clear to me. How legitimate is grant funding availability? So are you asking whether grant funding is available? What's the availability? Or is grant funding legitimate? So you can put your question again, or we can speak again at the end of the course, okay? So I'm going to move on now. Legal requirements for starting a business. And again, I will make reference back to the grant funding thing that you have that was just posted in Helen's Daughters today. So it's asking you that your business has to be registered. Has to be registered. So how many of you all have registered your business? But before you can register a business, you need to determine what type of business you're going to have. So a sole proprietorship, I'm not going to assume that everybody knows, but I'm sure you do. I will still explain for those who may not know, is when you own a business and you operate as yourself. So with that kind of business, there really isn't any separation between yourself. So it's the simplest form. It's owned and operated by one person. There's very minimal requirements. So for instance, what you would do in St. Lucia, and I believe I saw from what the coordinators sent for me in St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is you would register business name. So essentially, if you had a thing called Funny Golden Apples and your name was Mary Augustine, you would be Mary Augustine, but you would be trading as Funny Golden Apples, okay? So a sole proprietorship is just a minimal thing, but it's you as the individual. It does not change anything, and you would bear all the liability. So should that business fail, or you own suppliers or anything like that, they would come after you. It's not a very costly way to set up a business. It's a good way to start. I don't always encourage people to go into the next step. The other thing is a partnership. A partnership, okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. Miss Fontina, you did send me an email and I responded to you already, but please feel free to email me about specific questions you have. So this is your last opportunity to interact with me. So if you wanted to ask a question, it might be better because the backward and forward of email, if we misunderstand each other, might not work so fair. But you also just said sole proprietor. I'm not sure what you mean by that, so perhaps you can elaborate. Partnerships. That's when two or more people co-own a business. The requirements for a partnership agreement detailing the roles and responsibility, liability and profits are shared. That is always a recipe for disaster and a very bad idea in my business. I have not come across one partnership in all the years I've been doing this that has worked out very well. Whether it's with family, whether it's with your husband, whether it's with your children, whether it's with a best friend, bad idea. Bad idea. Because people inevitably fall out, they have different wills and rules of doing it. And partnerships, what happens is that if one person is the head of the business and they make bad decisions, then both people have to share in that liability. So these are things you have to take into account. So maybe saying bad idea is not a good thing, but my experience hasn't been the people I know who did it have had good experiences. It may work for some, it may not work for others, okay? Okay. Mrs. Fontinel, you cannot have a registered company and a sole proprietor. It's either or, unless you have two separate businesses. So a registered company cannot be a sole proprietor. It can be a registered company and you are the sole shareholder and sole director. There's differences, but a sole proprietor is not a registered company. Okay, not in St. Lucia anyway, and neither is it in the UK or any of the Caribbean islands, I don't think. So we'll get back to that. So a corporation or registered company, as we say in St. Lucia, is a legal entity separate from its owner. So think about a corporation as an individual. And it's unfortunate when we speak about banking and lending that some of the businesses, particularly in the Caribbean, still do not ascribe to that. So whereas you may think you have a corporation, you will go and get a business loan. And I know I'm sidetracking a little bit, and they'll still ask you for personal guarantee. It's almost like they're holding you to ransom because they think you're desperate for the loan. And I will speak to you again about some of these predatory behaviors. But generally, when you have a business, it's a legal entity. It's on its own. So basically, your company can fail, but nobody can touch your personal assets. So if you have a company, for instance, and for some reason or another, the company failed, nobody can come after your personal assets. However, there are exceptions to that rule. Under the Inland Revenue Act, I think, and NIC, you don't have to be a shareholder of a company. However, if you're a director under the Companies Act, and for instance, the company did not pay the NICs of the employers, which is liability for the company, they have put an added responsibility on the director that they now can come after and put liens on their personal property. So I'm saying that in case anybody asks you to be a director on their company, ask them what your responsibilities and roles will be legally before you take on that role. So many people don't understand that, right? Ms. Senton, point noted about most law practices are partnerships, but I think a lot of them are moving away now to LLCs as well, or companies, and they employ lawyers, particularly in the Caribbean. There's a shift towards that. And in the UK, for instance, where I work a lot, most of them are not. I think that's a very American thing as well, the partnership thing, where you get a senior partner in a firm and then, yeah. So yeah, but then again, lawyers probably, the agreement for the partnership is written so tightly, which the layman would, one, not have the money to afford to be able to do it, and maybe don't understand the consequences of such. So that is why I brought it up in the context of the rural women that we're doing here, that partnerships are probably not a good idea. And again, I probably should not say that, it's just my experience. So partnerships may work for some people, but I just thought I should bring the pitfalls of it. Okay. So going back to a company, Many people are not aware that you can be a shareholder of a company and a director, that's fine. So that means that the liabilities that come with the directorship, you would also assume it. But some people, I have companies that I'm directors on, but I'm not the shareholder. However, should that company decide not to remit taxes or things, the Inland Revenue and the National Insurance Corporation under the Acts of St. Lucia, and I think in the UK is the same as well, the director's responsibility is that they can come after you. It puts the onus on the directors to act and behave responsibly. So this is an added responsibility that comes with having a corporation, right? So choosing the right entity, consider factors like liability, taxations, investments needs, and administrative burden. Consult with a legal advisor to be able to best advise you on your business goals and personal circumstances. In St. Lucia, I think we have a department called SEDU that would help you. In St. Kitts and Nevis, I see you'll have a government department, the Ministry of Finance, that helps with that. And in, sorry, I'm looking for St. Vincent zone. In St. Vincent, you have the Commerce and Intellectual Office. Okay? So registering your business is important. The places I name, and in St. Lucia, you have, I believe they are moving now to Castries, but they were previously based at Uranura House. Okay? What is the process for setting up a corporation? So a corporation is more costly. Somebody's mic is not muted. The process of setting up a corporation. Oh, and again, somebody's mic is not muted. Can you mute your mic, please? Okay. So in St. Lucia, the approximate cost for setting up a business, if you go to a lawyer, it's probably about between 3,000 and 4,000. It can range up to 5,000 because they'd have to do the articles of incorporation. They'd have to present the notice of directors. They would have to do the beneficial owners. They would have to do the bylaws. So all these come at a cost. But the government cost for doing that, I believe, is $850. First, you'd have to register the name, which costs $25. Then you would have to do the incorporation, which is $150. So in total, the cost to the government, or the fees you pay to do it via the registry is about $1,000. So if you are versed enough, perhaps you could get away with doing it, but you may need legal help to create your bylaws for your company. Okay, so it's a little bit more on the costly side, and it's not for everybody because forming a company comes with responsibilities. You now have to go to Inland Revenue and get a tax number. You now have to ensure that whoever you employ, so you have to register with NIC. Every year you have to do what you call a annual returns for your business with Company House to be able to show them that your business is still viable and working. You're going to have to file tax returns. And if you don't file the tax returns, there's a penalty. In St. Lucia, even if you don't owe any taxes, there's still a penalty for late payment and there's interest on zero, which I still don't understand how that happens. So there are requirements for sorting out for having a company that perhaps small businesses may not want to be able to do that. So no, I'm not sure it's called a compliance certificate. I know it's called the annual returns. So you do that with the thing. It does sound tedious, but in my thing, I only own companies. I don't have any sole proprietorships. I think if you are okay just being a sole proprietor, then that's fine. But I have always been one of the mindset that I want my business to make loads and loads of money. So also having a sole proprietorship limits you in certain ways as well. Okay. Okay. In terms of permits and licenses, that's another thing depending on the type of businesses you have. So if, for instance, your business was to sell liquor, there's a requirement in St. Lucia that you must have a liquor license and it's obtained from a lower court. I think it's the magistrate's court. You have to pass certain checks to be able to do it. Health permits. If you're preparing food, you would need a health permit. So I would say, don't wait for Helen's Daughters. And I understand that many of you are not members. And I would now at this point tell you that to go on the Helen Daughters page, register your interest to become a member, because there's so many benefits to it, including the continued process of what is happening here and support for you as you go forward. But if, for instance, you were to sell at one of our farmers market, you would need to have a health permit. You would need to do some blood tests. You need to see a doctor. So I would say do these things. Vendor permits. Even if you're not a member of Helen's Daughters, and let's say you wanted to set up in the square in Nevis or in St. Kitts to be able to sell, you would have to approach the local authorities to get a permit to be able to set up a tent and do so. So find out the legal requirements for your businesses. Again, if any of you are interested in registering business in St. Lucia, I would be able to help you. If it's St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Nevis, my knowledge is limited. It would be from the internet, but I'm sure you can reach out to the coordinators, okay? But like I said, I think it's the the coordinators may not be able to help you, particularly if you're not a member. But I just want to remind you that for St. Vincent, it's the Commerce and Intellectual Office, and for Nevis, it's St. Kitts, I'm looking for the name. It's a Ministry of Finance, okay? Yes, you can do the annual returns without a lawyer, definitely. And there's nothing in law you cannot do by yourself. Lawyers tend to make us think we need them. You can represent yourself in court by yourself, okay? How valid is a business name compared to a company? A business name is just you operating as yourself but having a business name. So now for most banks to give you a debit card machine, they would ask that you open a separate account in your business name, even if you're operating as a sole proprietor, just so that they can see you can separate your business from your personal income so that they can pay it. Okay? Compare Commerce and Intellectual Property Office, CIP. Thank you, Roxanne. Roxanne is putting the information as to where you can go. I usually have my annual returns done via law office. Could you direct me as to how I have it done? Miss Edward Leo, are you in St. Lucia? If you're in St. Lucia, I could send you a template for you to be able to do it. Okay? Yes. That's what I was saying. Miss Staten, you don't need a lawyer to do the annual returns, but I'm not sure if you're in St. Lucia, Miss Staten. In St. Lucia, it is common practice for the lawyers to make you think that you need them to do it. Okay? Importance of compliance with local authorities. Compliance isn't about avoiding penalties. It's about understanding your responsibilities under the law, right? So, for instance, you must comply with the National Insurance Act. Even if you're a sole proprietor and you employ people, the onus is on you to register yourself as an employer and pay the NIC contributions, which is 5% in St. Lucia, to the NIC. If you don't do this, there is a penalty. There is interest, I believe. No, it's interest. There's an interest component. And I think there's a penalty as well. And as well, should you not pay it and you needed to purchase property in St. Lucia in your own personal name, and you would need an IC clearance and you would not get the clearance for such. Also, they have a right to put a lien on your property or whatever monies is owed. Okay. So what I want you guys to understand is, first, before you can register business, you need to decide what type of businesses you're going to have, right? You need to decide if you need permits. Another thing as well that you may need, depending on whether you need to import some raw materials, you might need an import license for certain things. Again, I'm not sure what your various setup business is, but I just always want you to find out the office that's relevant, have them on email address, always make contact with somebody, get an email address where you may not need to go in, you can email or call and ask the information that you need, okay? Miss Farrell, I'm not familiar with credit unions having debit cards. I know some credit unions have debit cards um, through the banks. Even banks don't give debit card facilities for businesses. They would ask you to have a credit card, but they would probably give you a credit card, but I'm not familiar with debit card facilities from credit unions. Okay. Okay. Understanding business taxes. So corporate taxes. I was not able to get any information for St. Kitts, for St. Vincent on this, but in St. Vincent, if you have a company, the corporate taxes are 33%, which is the same for St. Lucia. VAT in St. Lucia is 12.5%, I believe, at the moment, but there's also a health and wellness levy that's compounded. So it's not added, but it's compounded on everything. So it makes things a little bit more. And as it pertains to taxes for small businesses, I believe your tax rate would be the same as if you were employed. So some people who have jobs and who have businesses, it could actually be beneficial if you included your business income with your taxes. And I will explain to you why. Most businesses don't do very well the first few years. So let's say hypothetically, you worked for the government and you were a teacher. I'm just using that as an example. And you got a salary every month. But with that salary, the government, obviously, you have a tax liability. So your employers will deduct your taxes. So every year you have to file a tax return. Sometimes you get a tax, refund, sometimes you don't. It might be beneficial that if your business has certain expenses for it, that when you add it up to your income, your overall thing becomes a loss. And then you would have a bigger tax return from the taxes you pay. So the taxes you pay to the government, if you were self-employed or have a business name, it could be offset against the taxes you already paid from your normal income. Okay? However, if you have a corporation, and let's say the corporation paid you, the corporation would have to withhold your taxes on behalf of you and submit them, but your corporation would also have a liability to pay tax. In St. Lucia, you have up to 5 years where you can make a loss with a corporation, where you would not necessarily be audited. Okay, so even if the business is not doing well in the first year, the second year, but nobody wants to have a business that's not making a profit in how many years? Also, as it pertains to value-added tax, I am not sure how many of you are familiar with that tax, but that tax is predominantly, so the way it works is like they created it so businesses can collect taxes on behalf of the government. If you are a registered value-added tax, if you have registered as a business for value-added tax, now the threshold in St. Lucia is quite high, so it may not fit in with small to medium businesses. I think it's $300,000, which I think is ludicrous. And I'm not sure why they did it, but I just want you to understand how it works. So if you're registered for VAT, and you now are importing things that have VAT, or let's say you're paying things that have VAT. So let's say you pay Digicel. Your company is registered for VAT and you sell your supermarket, you sell grocery items. So you now, when you sell the grocery items, you collect VAT. The VAT is not yours as the employer to keep. Every month, you have to remit those VATs to the government. There's also penalty and taxes and deadlines for which you have to pay that in every country. However, should you as that company, so let's say I'll call that company Babies International. That's the first thing that popped in my head. So Babies International now has a phone bill with Digicel, and Digicel is sending that bill, and at the end of it, it says VAT, and they have landlines with Flow. That VAT that now, when we pay, the Babies International has to pay their bill, but they've paid VAT. So let's say for the month, Babies International collected $300 in VAT from its customers it sold to. But in paying its bills and liabilities, Babies International paid $200 in VAT, right? There's something called input VAT, right? So that's the input part where the business pays out. When you're now ready to remit the VAT to the government, you will only pay the difference. So it'll be the 300 minus the 2. So you will only be remitting 1. Because as a VAT registered person, you also have the right to get your VAT back that you paid. Which is why I don't understand why the threshold is so high. So again, if you need further clarification on that, I can explain further. Because I understand it's a little bit of a maths problem to deal with it, especially, but it would not affect most of you here because I'm not sure your businesses have reached that threshold, although you should aim to get there. And the threshold to register for VAT is 100,000. Okay, so I agree that could be a good figure to work with, but here in St. Lucia is 300. Thank you, Miss Seaton, for that information. So you can pop in. We have a good resourceful person in St. Kitts that's giving us some information there. Okay. So value added taxes. So keeping regular accounting thing that keeps coming up, right? When you submit your business taxes, whether it's for corporation or if you're self-employed, you have to submit a profit and loss statement. You have to submit a balance sheet. You have to submit a cash flow. So a statement of cash flow. So again, that is where record keeping comes in. If you're not going to submit records, when you have to submit the thing, where are you going to get the information from? Are you going to make it up? This is fraudulent, and in most of the countries, I believe these are embedded in their acts that you can be prosecuted for such. So accurate record keeping is also a legal responsibility. And even if you are not audited, you are expected to keep records for up to 7 years. Okay. So other tax other tax, so customs tariffs and charges, although that's not a tax, but I did put that in because I wanted to speak to you briefly about it. So for those of you who have businesses and you rely on raw materials or packaging or stuff like that, when you are pricing, which we'll come to in a little bit, you need to be able to consider the custom tariffs and charges. So you see something on Amazon you need to buy to be able to resell, or that will help you. Don't just simply take the price for Amazon that you paid for it, but remember that there is a customs tariff on mostly everything that's imported. And again, I can't share the link for you because I think we have a common CARICOM tariff, and the tariffs would be the same practically among all the Eastern Caribbean countries. And for you to take that into account, and the tariff thing, I could send it as a calculator where you can put in what you order in the price, and it will tell you what the tariff and the charges will be on. In St. Lucia, we have an added, so we have the tariff, the custom tariffs, we have the value added tax, and we have the health and wellness levy, I believe. So all these things should be incorporated when you are doing retail prices for your business. Other relevant taxes. So we're looking at payroll taxes. When you employ people, your responsibility is to collect taxes, but you have to remit it to the government. So you cannot be deducting taxes from people and holding it. That is illegal, and you can be prosecuted for such. Okay. Likewise, NIC. Okay. Sorry, I think I saw somebody. Miss Hilton McVeigh, I saw your hands up. You can go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Miss Daniel.
Good evening.
I registered a business last year, and I'm thinking, I know, listening to you tonight, I'm thinking I probably was a little bit overzealous. I should have waited.
That's okay.
Let me explain why. Because I mean, when I registered as a sole proprietor, because it's just me. But then, I mean, it's been a year, and then I have not done anything with that. So would I still do I still have to, have to pay, have to go and file taxes on that, or
No,
I don't
if you're
know.
a sole proprietor, there's no ownership there's nothing, which is the difference between a sole proprietor and the company. The company is a separate person, remember? So a company is like an entity itself. But if you're a sole proprietor, your personal tax returns that you do, if you have any business expenses, you just have to prepare a financial statement and attach it to it and incorporate it in the taxes when you do it. Okay. And again, Lucia, filing your taxes is so easy now because you can do it online. You can upload the financial statements, put it in there. You can upload your personal income from whatever employment you have. It's really easy. And I am thinking about asking Helen's daughters for a TCOSE close to tax returns next year, so I can assist people with registering for online and helping them do their tax returns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
very
Mary
much.
Delis, no problem. Thank you, Mary Delis, for the information. Mary Delis just informed me that there's a custom 6% service charge as well on your goods when you import into St. Lucia. Okay, so Miss McVeigh, you can put down your hands. We have somebody else with their hands up. Miss Kriya John, no? Okay, so we'll move on. So, as your business grow and develop, you will be affected by employment laws, health and safety regulations, environmental regulations. Now, we live in the Caribbean where there is not much of that happening in terms of people adhering to certain things. So a lot of employers, for instance, don't adhere to it. A lot of employees don't adhere to the rules. Health and safety, some places are non-existent. Environmental regulations, as it pertains to things like plastic, they're not really enforced and how it's going to affect us. So I say all this because, as we spoke earlier, if you're going to build a business that's sustainable, don't go in it with the T-boutique mentality. And for those of you who don't understand Creole, T-boutique means small or tunnel vision mind in our palace. So it's like you just have a narrow view that I'm just doing this for money. If your ultimate goal is to build a successful business that can make money even whilst you sleep. And by saying so, I mean, eventually you'll get to a point where you will have employers, you can go on vacation. You need to be able to start these things well, respect the employment laws of the countries. As a business, you can use them in certain aspects to your advantage, right? Because some of them are so laxed anyway. And I'm not saying that we should take advantage of our employees, sorry. But all I'm saying is that start well. When you employ somebody, give them an employment contract, prepare a job description. If you need help with that, you reach out to people and services who can do these things for you free or at a minimal cost. But you start well so you have guidelines, right? Health and safety regulations. If, for instance, you own a kitchen or you have people on your farm, speak to them about cutlasses. What you don't want is somebody falls on your farm on a cutlass and then you become liable. You own a boat and you go out to sea and you have not provided the right equipment for the people to be able to be safe on the sea. Keep these things in mind because it will end up costing you less if you do the right thing from the start. Environmental regulations. And I know some of these are non-existent in the region where we have, but we have to be the change we want to see. We have to develop best and good practices for the growth of our business. And for us to, somebody's mic is not muted, for us to be able to attract international grants and funding, you don't wait until you get a funder that has these requirements. Somebody's mic is not muted. Please mute your mics. If you want to speak, raise your hand. Thank you very much. So Lisa Elibox, please let Helen's daughters know that you don't mind having a workshop or a TCOZE on taxes. And I would be happy to volunteer my time to assist you all. So environmental regulations. Like I was saying, a lot of this is non-existent in the region. But you don't want when you get a funder or grant who's willing to give you and they're asking you, have you been following these regulations, that you're not okay with it. Plastic is a problem, particularly in hurricane-prone regions where when we have a lot of rainfall, our roads become blocked, we have extreme flooding, so there should be regulations on certain things and they aren't there. So I'm saying, even if there isn't, let's use our initiative. Let's come up with ideas as how we as a group collectively can maybe form our own set of things that we know will help us in terms of what the funders are asking us for, okay? So these are the few things I wanted to speak about that. But this one is a big one, so we might spend a little bit of time on that one. So again, going back to when I did the first financial literacy with you all about budgeting, about savings, these things are also true for businesses. And a lot of people, I'm not sure why, find it tedious. If you don't do these things, inevitably your business will not move past a certain point. For growth, you need structure. For making more money than you were making, you need to be able to, just like we said, have a plan. So understanding budgeting. Budgeting is the practice of planning your expenses and revenues over a specific period of time. It provides a focus on what you expect to spend and earn, helping you to manage your resources effectively. To create a budget, list all your potential income sources, including sales and any external funding. Then detail all expected expenses such as raw material, labor, transportation, overhead costs. Sometimes we forget all the costs involved in doing what we do. And if you happen to do a budget, you will find that it's become so detailed that you now include everything and see whether you're making a profit or loss, right? The goal is to ensure that the income always exceeds or meets the expenses to avoid financial shortfalls. So if you have a budget, you will be able to tell way ahead of time whether your income will potentially match or exceed your expenses. And that is instrumental in keeping your business afloat. Okay, so managing cash flow. This involves tracking the amount of money coming in and going out of your business. Keeping cash flow management ensures that you have enough cash on hand to cover your obligations, such as paying suppliers and employees. So if you are not able to manage cash flow, and let's say you took something, you need to buy something to be able to sell more, how are you going to be able to pay the things you have to be? If you don't pay the electricity company will cut you off. So you need to make sure at that point in the month you have money. If you don't pay the water, and the water is essential to your business, how are you going to pay it? This is where effective cash flow management comes in. Money makes the mare fly. Always remember that in business, right? I will talk to you a little bit about okay, I can maybe tell you now about managing your cash flow. So there's a difference between cash flow and profits. A lot of people, because they have cash flowing, they think they have money. So I will give you an example of an area. I recently had a client who had a bar, and he had never really done any accounting, but he needed to get some property and some funding. And he asked me to come together to put his business things together for him so he could get the financing. When we did it, I realized that he was making a loss. And he said, "But how comes? I'm not making a loss. I make so much money every day." But he did not he never sat down and looked at the cost of paying the bar staff, the cost of the electricity to keep the drinks cold. And the profit margin on those drinks was so low, he didn't even understand that the resale. So not only that too, there's a set resale price. So imagine you buying something for somebody at $100 and they're telling you that the retail price for it cannot exceed $110, which means that your profit will only be 10. But then you haven't taken into account that the person you're going to pay to be able to sell that drink, the amount of electricity it will cost, how many days will it stay in the fridge for the electricity over that period of time. All these things maybe amount to more than the $10. So thereby you're making a loss. So I want you to remember, cash flow is not necessarily profit. Just because you have a large amount of money flowing through constantly does not mean that you are making a profit. Okay? If you need help on that, again, you can email me. So you can utilize some simple accounting software spreadsheets to record all cash flows and outflows. Now, I am probably biased, full disclosure. I am a QuickBooks, I work with QuickBooks. I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor. I sell QuickBooks, but QuickBooks is one of the most amazing tools. It does budgets, cash flows, projections. But again, there's a cost to it. It's a subscription every month. Everybody may not have money to pay it, and I recognize that, which is why today I took time off, and I hope you guys all received it in your, I asked your respective coordinators to share it with you. I sent you a list of things, including a simple invoice. It is professional that when somebody purchases from your business, that you send an invoice, and when they've paid, you send a receipt or you give them a receipt. You can do so via WhatsApp with the thing that I've given you. It doesn't always have to be written, because you can save money, you can save time. If you put aside 1 hour, 2 hours a week just to do your admin work, you can do these things and keep track of what is happening in your business. So I have sent you these things, go through them. If you need help with it, I think I sent you a budget. I think I sent you income and thing. I sent you cash flow. I think 10 separate documents I sent you. So make use of them, amend them as you need to, okay? And when and if your business gets to the level and you need a software, there's other softwares too. There's Cash Book, there's Cash Apps. Somebody told me about a few others today, but I'm not very familiar with them, right? But you need to be able to record that. So regularly review these records to anticipate any potential cash shortages, right? And plan accordingly. Remember, financial literacy and financial planning is not stagnant, it's fluid. It will change because there will be challenges and circumstances that will come. So you have to be prepared to constantly, which is why you cannot start a business and not record it, or you cannot start a business and not evaluate it in a month, in 6 months, in a year. Because there are things you will need to adjust. The price of one of your raw materials may have suddenly gone up, but you're still selling the product at the same price, thereby creating a loss. Evaluation is important in businesses, right? The other thing I hear constantly in St. Lucia is that, oh, the consumers cannot afford it. How do you know they can't afford it? Just because you would not pay for it doesn't mean somebody else wouldn't pay that money for it. And sometimes when I hear particularly women say that, I feel they devalue their own their own worth. They devalue their time. They don't put value on themselves. Or somebody won't pay for that. I'll give you an example. I have this really good friend, and she was making cassava. Cassava is like a bread we make out of like a yam, we call it mayok in St. Lucia. Well, probably the cassava plant. And I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go and help her because they were grating it. Then they had to put it to get the starch out. And then we used the starch. Then we had to get sweet potatoes. It was a long, arduous process. And we stood by this hot thing, pushing and pulling the farine to be able to make it for a whole day. And then when it came time to sell it, she's telling me, it's only $5 for one. So I tell her, are you kidding? I tell her, I didn't stand up there for that hot sun, hot thing all day. That was so hard. All my fingers were blistered. And honestly, the product was so good, it was worth at least $15. But she insisted that her market could not afford it. But she did not see the value. And when I now stood up and people started stopping, and I said, this thing is $8, this thing is $10, nobody complained. Nobody complained. So first of all, figure out a price point for your thing where you're not going to make a loss. Because if you had to employ me to put me in the cassava house, in the farine house, to make it, you'd probably have to pay me $70, $80. For me, that day was worth probably $300. And I'm not saying that, I'm just telling you how hard I felt I worked. So consider these things in making prices, okay? Separating personal and business finances. So a lot of people have businesses, and women in particular, and I'm not sure if that's because, again, of what we spoke about earlier about the banking sector and how they work and disproportionately, and they make it so difficult now to open an account. What I can tell you all, and those of you in St. Lucia who need help, and I will find some resources for those in St. Vincent and those in St. Kitts, open a separate account for your business. The reason being, cash does not do it anymore. If you need funding or finance, you need a record. Even the same company that's going to give you the funding, they're going to ask you, can you prove to them that you have a successful business and you've been receiving money? So even though you just deposit the money and you withdraw it again, try your best to deposit any income you receive from any business into an account. If you don't do that, there is no evidence that you have made that money. And putting it on a statement, on a financial statement, and not backing it up with a bank statement may not always be suffice, which I think is wrong. I think as a business person, people should consider and respect your integrity and take it as it comes. But unfortunately, this is not the way the world works. And a man will probably walk into a bank and he will be able to tell them he makes such and such a money and he will get away with it. I don't think we will. So what I say to you, back it up, back it up. Make sure you have your evidence. Because that grant that is there, it's asking for 2 years of having a business. Even if, for instance, hypothetically, you haven't done the record keeping, but you were depositing money for the last 2 years, and you came to me and you called and you said, Davy, I need your help with putting together a plan or a business, a financial statement for the last 2 years. First thing I'll tell you, do you have your bank statements? From your bank statements now, are you aware that I can pull up all the information into a QuickBooks page and separate it and be able to give you an adequate figure based on your bank statement? So what's not in your bank statement? You think you're going to remember what money you got 2 years ago in January? What your expenses were 2 years ago in January if you didn't record it? So again, you all get excited about grant funding, about loans, about money, but you don't have the data to back it up or to apply, which is why a lot of these monies now go back, because the people that are applying don't have the information, or people blatantly falsify it, and then it creates a bad name for all of us. Okay? So keep your personal and business finances separate. It simplifies the accounting, it improves financial management, and it helps in assessing the performance of businesses. It also reduces personal liability from business risk, right? So how to separate your finances? Open a business account. One of the first steps in separating the finances is to open an account solely for your business transaction. This helps in keeping track of business income and expenses without getting it mixed up with your personal finances. Maintain distinct budget for personal and business use. This clarity will aid you in making informed decisions both personally and professionally. Keep receipts and record organized, and your records organized. So a simple thing. You either go to I don't know what the equivalent of S&S would be, but these Chinese kind of shop, and I don't mean Chinese to be able to section one population, but they sell all these stationery. Buy a folder, and just, or even on Amazon, order a divider that says January to December, and just put your receipts in them from January to December. The other thing you can do, WhatsApp has an amazing feature where you can text yourself. I use it a lot to be able to remind myself of things I want to do. So, can you guys still hear me? Hello?
Yes, we
Yes, we
can.
can.
Okay,
Yes, we
sorry.
can.
I thought the thing
Yes,
switched.
we
So
can.
use the WhatsApp feature to take a picture of your receipt. Receipts fade, and you will not always have it. So I tend to take a picture of a receipt, and then I send it to myself on WhatsApp, and then I'll go back in WhatsApp. Even sometimes I need to remember. Customer calls me and they need some fish, and I know when I get home I'll not remember. So I send a message to myself saying this person, that person, fish. These are tools, basic tools you can use to help yourself with your business. Okay. So when you go back on your WhatsApp history, you can see all the receipts that maybe you missed out on that you were not able to file. Okay. So do that if you can. Okay. So keep records organized. Ensure all your receipts and financial documents are kept separately. This practice not only helps during tax season, but also in monitoring the financial health of your business. So that's important too. Constantly monitoring the financial health of your business. I have always said, if I have a business, that's my motto. Everybody's own is different. Everybody have a point where they can break. If I have a business and after 1 year, I have to be putting my hands in my pocket personally to be able to pay rent, staff, employees, business, wages, anything like that, I am closing the business. It is not viable. If you've done everything you're supposed to do and you are having to be able to do that, that's a sign that you can move on to another business, but that one is not good. So I have this thing, don't throw good money after bad business. At some point, you need to call it quits. And that's not a failure. That's a lesson learned. So you now put down the tools and you reevaluate. What could I have done better? Is the market not good? Can I venture into something else? You know, the heart of an entrepreneur is not what you sell. Is your willingness to always wanting to get up and do something and make it better the next time, or have multiple sources of income. So when one is failing, the other one will pick up the slack. Okay. So these are some of the things I just wanted to point out. Hold on. Pricing strategies. So what I'm referring here to is the various approaches used to determine the selling price of products and services. These strategies take into account production costs, market demand, competition, perceived value to ensure the prices are set in a way that maximizes profitability while remaining attractive to customers, right? So again, remaining attractive to customers is always important. I do agree. But also, would you sell your thing at a loss just to be attractive to customers? Or would you decide on a different product? I want you to always think about that. Okay? An effective pricing strategy helps agro-processors in particular cover their costs, including raw materials, labors, overhead, while also generating a profit. Understanding how to price your product correctly is crucial for the sustainability of your business, right? In many rural settings where competition may come from local markets and large suppliers, having a well thought out pricing strategy allows women entrepreneurs to position their products favorably. This can help them to attract and retain customers even against larger competitors. So if you're from a rural community, I'm only using that as an example, and you have these huge supermarkets, I'm not going to name their names. Yeah, most people go to the supermarket. So when they're there, they'll pick up things they need. But there's this increased how should I put it? You know, everybody like to be with the trend. So the trend now is to have fresh products because everybody wants to be healthy. So capitalize on that. That's what I would say. And perhaps offer that you can let the people know what you have for the week and they can place an order. And you can offer at $5, you can deliver it to them at their workplace perhaps, because that might be more convenient. And little things like that can help in getting a better price for your product by implementing things for service, right? Okay, sorry, somebody just put a note there about what you can do. The approach involves calculating the total cost of producing the product. That's how you cost plus pricing, right? That includes labor, material, overhead, and then adding a predetermined profit margin. So one of the ways you do your pricing is to determine what your profit margin will be. Will it be 50%? Will it be 75%? Will it be 200%? Will it be 100%? Now, again, the profit margin doesn't have to be set if you have different commodities, okay? Because you could have one commodity and based on the market, based on what you pay for it, you could easily do 50%. But some of them you may need to do 100, you may need to do 200. Again, you have to determine what the profit margin on each product should be. Keep detailed records of project costs. For example, if it costs you $2 to produce a jar of jam and the desired profit margin is 50%, then the selling price obviously would be $3, right? But did it really cost you $2 to produce that jar? Did you take into account the cost of the jar itself, the cover of the jar, right? All the ingredients you put in the jar, the gas you use to make the jam, the wear and tear on the stove. And I may be taking it a little bit far, but I'm just detailing all the things that can incorporate in the cost of producing an item, okay? So too often we just think, oh, I got the gooseberries for free. I got this for free. I just use my stove, so I don't need to sell it for much. But think about it. If this becomes a huge business and you now cannot supply all your gooseberries and you have to buy them from somebody else, and you've already told the market that your price is $3, do you think it will be favorable now when you have to purchase the gooseberries, your stove is not working, you have to pay me to use my stove? Do you think you can now decide to increase the price by 300%? Do you think that will affect your market share favorable? So these are the things I want you to consider when you price in, okay? So this was an example of cost plus pricing, okay? We also have a value-based pricing. This strategy sets prices based on the perceived value of the product to the customer rather than just one cost of production. Understand what's your customer value most about your product. Example, is it an organic product? Are your ingredients sourced differently, right? Local sourcing, health benefits. So are you importing or is it local? So for instance, for me with my fish, I know one of the things the customers value is the sanitary conditions in which the fish is cleaned, prepared, and packed. So they are willing to pay extra for that. And the fact that it's vacuum packed and it's vacuum packed in portion size for their families. So it's a convenience as well. So all these things are different to cost pricing, cost plus pricing. So your cost plus a profit margin, and value pricing is what I would do on a product like my fish because I know how I prepare it and what my market requires. So I understand my customers' value on my product. For instance, if customers produce your organic honey as a superior to regular honey, you can justify a higher price based on the perceived value. And a lot of what we do, they can have value-based pricing, okay? Competitive pricing. What is it? This strategy involves setting prices based on what competitors are charging for similar products. Implementation. Conduct a market research to identify the prices of similar agro-processing products. And I'm using agro-processing because I'm aware that a lot of you in here are agro-processors. If your product offers unique benefits, you may choose to sell it at a slightly higher prices. Conversely, if you're entering a saturated market, you may consider a lower introductory price to attract customers. So for instance, if you are an agro-processor and you have a product and your competitor have the product for the same and they're selling in a similar area for you, two things can happen. You can go in and sell your product at a similar price for your thing, even not considering your cost price, which is not a good idea. I think value-based pricing or cost plus profit are probably the two better ones. Competition is not always a good price because people see the product and they perceive it to be the same as what they think your competitors are selling. But most times products are different. So you now have to distinctly show the customer that your product is different and why you demand a higher price, okay? And again, these are things that I would ask you to look into, the different types of pricing. So we're looking at cost plus, which means cost of your pricing plus whatever you decide your profit margin to be. Value-based pricing is understanding the value your customers have put on your product. Example, if it's organic, whether you source your materials locally, and the health benefits. So you can do that. Or competitive pricing, which would mean that you look at what your perceived competitors do and sell your things similar or lower than them to attract customers, okay? Understanding market demands. Recognizing how demand fluctuates based on seasonality, trends, and economic conditions. So for instance, I am a passion fruit grower and I grow a lot of passion fruit. But towards the end of the season, I stopped selling passion fruit because what we do, we pulp it, we freeze it, and we keep it for when the season is absolutely gone. So that helps me cut some of the, it helps with my cash flow. Let's put it that way, right? So at the moment, I have a lot of passion fruit for sale, but there's no passion fruit, right? So now I can demand a higher price for it because it's in demand. So you need to figure out what can you do. So if mangoes is your product, is there a way you can secure mangoes, and when there's no mangoes, you can sell it? Perhaps sell mango pulp. Yeah. Perhaps freeze the pulp and people now can buy it and make juice, right? Limes, when limes is in season, can you freeze it? Can you figure out a method of preserving it naturally? And when it's not in season, you can perhaps go and sell it and demand a higher price. So monitor your sales pattern and customer feedback to adjust your prices accordingly. For example, if demand for certain products spikes during harvest season, you might raise prices slightly to maximize your profit, right? So cost of goods sold. This refers to the direct costs attributed to the production of the goods sold by the business. Keep track of all inputs, raw materials, labor, packaging involved in producing each product. This will help you to make informed pricing decisions that include all costs covered. And I cannot stress that enough. So for instance, you are making jam. You have to buy the bottle. You want a nice label because, people buy visually. Everything is visual. You go to the supermarket and you get a banana with 5 black spots. Most people won't want to buy it. They don't even know that's the sweetest bananas. But all I'm saying is that if I go to a market and there's how many bottles of jam, the one that is labeled, presented nicer, have a little card around it that says thank you. But on that same thank you card has the details, the name, the telephone number where I can call. So these things make for customers to come back, but there's also a cost associated. And I would actually pay more for that product because it looks good. It's going to look nice on my desk. Or perhaps instead of giving a friend an expensive birthday present, I can just give it to them as a present. So I would choose to buy these things, one, to support local, but two, because aesthetically it's more pleasing to me. And I'm not the only consumer who buys like that. Most consumers buy with their eyes, right? The other thing as well is that when I go to farmers market, and I'm just bringing that up, I like to the farmers or the products that they're selling to have samples. Now, if you're going to give out samples, you can have a small percentage to increase your cost by to be able to accommodate for the samples that you're giving, thereby you're not going to lose. But that is a way of bringing in business, okay? Or that could be a cost of goods sold. So whatever amount of gooseberries forever you take, or jam, or let's say guava cheese that you put out for people to sample, you now pretend like you're buying it from the business and put it as a cost for marketing. Because if I can sample your gooseberry, sometimes it tastes like crap, but because I'm standing in front of you, I'll go, let me buy one. You all have to use these marketing techniques to be able to force people to buy it. I shouldn't say force, entice them to buy your products, okay? Have a conversation with them, right? Have a conversation with them. Ask them how they're doing today. When they come back the next time, remember them. Ask them how the jam was. Would they like some more? Do they have any suggestions if they say they don't want any more? Was there anything about it you didn't like? How can I improve it? So these are the things I'd like you all to do when your customers come to you so you can help. But going back to cost of goods sales, keep track of every single thing you have put in this raw product, right? Competitor pricing, we spoke about that. Awareness of similar products and how they are priced in the market. Regularly check your competitor prices and adjust your pricing strategy to remain competitive. This could involve offering promotions or discounts to attract price-sensitive customers. By carefully considering those price strategies, women are engaging in women who engage in agro-processing can set effective prices that not only cover costs and ensure profitability, but also position their products competitively in the market. This approach to pricing can generally enhance the chances of success and sustainability in your ventures, right? So on that topic, the final thing I'll talk about is tools and softwares that can help. Like I said, accounting softwares. Most of the things I talk about there, because if, for instance, you were using QuickBooks and you ordered raw materials for one particular item, there's a way you can group it, put it together, and you'd be able to see when you sell it back, whether you made a profit on these products or not. So we're looking at, again, there's a suggestion. QuickBooks is a user-friendly accounting tool that helps manage income, expenses, invoices, and it offers features for tracking cash flows and generating financial reports. There's another accounting software called Wave. It's a free accounting software tailored for small businesses. It includes invoices, expense tracking, and financial reporting, making an excellent choice for budget-conscious entrepreneurs. So you all can take that down. If you don't think, you can always try Wave because it's free, okay? There are budgeting apps that you can use too. Budgeting tools that helps you allocate every dollar of your income. It encourages productive financial management and can help you establish a spending plan. So there's one called YNAB. You need a budget. So you all can Google it on Apple and Android or look for it on the internet. Mint. Mint is actually owned by QuickBooks as well. And they have a comprehensive personal finance app that helps you track your spending and create budgets. Whilst it was primarily formed for personal finances, you can also adapt it for small business use, okay? Cash flow tools management. There's one called Float. It's a cash flow forecasting tool that integrates you with accounting software. So it can integrate into your QuickBooks and perhaps your Wave. I'm not sure for Wave, but I know it does for QuickBooks. It helps you visualize your cash flow and plan future cash needs. Cash flow. There's one called Cash Flow and there's one called Float. So cash flow spelled with a K, K-A-S-H. Cash flow specifically designed for small businesses. This software allows you to manage cash flow, invoices, and expenses in one place. And Old Faithful has never failed, spreadsheets. Again, if these are services you want Helen's Daughters to provide for you, I am sure you can ask about doing a workshop on how to create basic spreadsheets. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you with that. So Excel or Google Sheets. Google has an amazing platform for Sheets on Google Own. It's quite easy. Simple yet powerful tools for tracking income and expenses, creating budgets, and managing cash flow. Templates are available online to help you get started quickly. So by utilizing these financial tips, every woman in agro-processing can gain control over their financing, not just agro-processing, whatever business that you have, you can adapt these tools to be able to make it work. You can make informed choices, and ultimately you can enhance your sustainability and growth to your business, okay? Accessing credits. I know we're running a bit late, so bear with me. Trust me, I have a few more things that I think you'd be very interested in. So just bear with me because these was two heavy sessions that I really had to try and combine, and I don't want to shortchange you. So if that's okay with you, if you bear with me, I'll run through the last few slides, and then I really want to have a discussion with you about certain things, okay? So access to funding and support. So loans, we spoke about that last week. How you can access loans from local banks, credit unions, microfinance institutions. These loans are can be used to purchase equipment, production, facilities, or enhancing distributing networks. Things you should consider when applying for the loan. Understand the terms of the loan. I cannot stress that enough. A lot of those loans they have out there, particularly for businesses, the rates of interest and the terms and conditions are punitive, particularly to people who don't have enough financial literacy. So please, if you're not sure, ask. If it's too good to be true, then it is too good to be true, okay? Always ask about interest rates. Interest, no matter whether you're going to get the loan, if the interest rates start hitting double digits, you maybe need to think, okay? Interest rates are important, but most of these ventures will not advertise their interest rates. Ask about interest rates, whether it's personal or business. This is important, as you may be able to loan your business the money from your personal money at a lower interest rate. And the same way you're going to pay the bank back, you can pay yourself the money from your business. I think we spoke about that the last time, okay? So interest rates, ask about these things. Repayment schedules. Do you have to pay every month? as a business, sometimes you don't get the same amount of money every month. So can you speak to the lender about possibly paying every 3 months? There are amendments that can be made. Sometimes you don't know until you ask. So ask. And any collateral requirements. If you are going to give your land that you've worked hard for, you inherited as collateral, think about what you are giving up for that. Is it worth it? Do an analysis. Is it worth giving up a piece of property for $100,000 to borrow 10? Does that make sense? Ask yourselves those questions before you use anything for collateral. Prepare a robust business plan to increase your chances of approval and demonstrate how the loan will be utilized to grow your business. Okay? Grants. Grants normally come from government and non-governmental organizations. You don't normally have to pay them back. These grants, sometimes they make them attractive options for business, but they come with a lot of criteria. Look at the one that's available now. You need to have had a business for 2 years. You need to have had record keeping for 2 years. Many of you have had businesses for more than 2 years, but have you been up to date with your record keeping? Okay, so research the grants availabilities. Consider how your business aligns with the objectives of the grant. Tailor your grant proposal to highlight the societal and economic impact of your business, focusing on sustainability, job creation, and innovation. So these are things funders like to hear, that you're going to create jobs, right? That you're going to be sustainable, right? And that you're going to have some sort of innovation that will not just help your business, but transcend into the communities that you live and you work in, okay? Investors and venture capitalists. These individuals or groups of people, they provide capital for business expansion in exchange for ownership or equity or convertible debt. So listen again. When somebody approaches you to do an investment, I know we get excited at the prospect of getting money, but most things in life are not free, including people giving you money. I don't give away my money. I don't have, but even if I had, I'm not sure I would just give them away. When somebody comes to you and they says, oh, I want to be investing, you keep getting kicked out. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure. Sorry about that. What is it that they want from you? Be upfront. Don't beat around the bush. Tell them, can we just dismay with the pleasantries? What is it you want from me that you're willing to give me that money? There is always a catch. So guess what? They're probably going to say, okay, we will do the investment and we give us 10% of your business. Or we're going to give you the investment at that interest rate to pay us back over such period of time. There is a catch, but it's up to you to determine what the catch is and whether you can risk going for what that the investors want, okay? So pitching to investors. When approaching investors, emphasize the scalability of your business, the market potential, and your unique value proposition. You have to have a unique position. Why would you come to me to invest on anybody can do what you're doing? To sell it to me, you have to tell me why I should give you my money, right? So think about it as somebody coming to ask you your money. Are you going to give it away without knowing what's going to come out of it? No. So treat it that way. Be prepared with financial projections and clear business strategies. You can't ask an investor to give you money and you haven't thought about questions they're going to ask you. Any investor who's worth the grain of salt that they work on, they will have a mirage of questions to ask you. So be prepared. Get together with a group or network of women who can role play with you and ask you some of the questions that the investors will ask you so you can prepare. Ask your organizations that you are part of to prepare mentorship programs, workshops, and seminars that can prepare you for answering questions. With the advent of Zoom and not the advent, but the use of it now being heightened, you will more than likely get investors asking to have meetings with you. You have to be prepared to answer those questions. Okay? So there are many special programs for women entrepreneurs in the Caribbean. Programs like Women Empowered Through Export. So there's a program, and you could have a look at it. It's called We Export, WE_X and PORT. They help support female entrepreneurs to access new market and finance opportunities. So take that now down, have a look, and see what you can get, what that may be suited to you, if there's anything that suits you. So again, it's called We Export, and it's particularly for Caribbean women. It supports female entrepreneurs to access markets and finance opportunities. Many Caribbean islands have initiatives that help with training, assistance, support networks. Again, find yourself in communities that can share these informations for you, right? Join organizations like Helen's Daughters. For those of you who are already not members, go on the website, put your name so the next round of membership, I think they're planning to have a pop-up sometime soon. You can join. They'll create benefits to being part of a sisterhood of an organization that looks after you, your interests, and values you. So again, look at these things. Mentorship programs. I had a conversation with some potential investors, mentors, and I just want to let you all know, because I think having worked with you all and the questions you all have asked, you all just gave me so many ideas. I am planning on making a proposal for a few investors to come together next year, and for us to allow women like you to pitch business ideas to us and where we can invest back into it. So for instance, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Dragon's Den. So a similar thing, but obviously on a smaller scale, because these people are giving back because they want to help. So you would have pitched an idea, and if you got shortlisted, you'd be invited to meet the investors and tell them exactly what you want to do, and they would invest and help you stay accountable and grow your business. So I would like you all to look out for this, and I can tell you all, you guys inspired me from the questions and the emails that I got from you all for a lot of things, for me to be able to put this initiative in action, where we will give you an opportunity to be able to. So if you start your record keeping, which is one of the things I'm almost certain will be a criteria, today, if you haven't started, start it. Because if you're going to pitch a business to me and say, I have been doing this for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years, I have been doing this for the last year, I will tell you, show me the evidence. Show me your records. Show me your books. So again, if any of you all are interested in participating in these ventures, and I'm hoping that it's not just going to be in St. Lucia, but we can have other regional partners to be able to do it. And it's going to be local businesses giving back to women like yourselves who are not able to get access to funding. Because one of the biggest problems that I found in interacting with you from your emails is the access to funding issues. So if I can put together some investors who are willing to and can give back in the form of you pitching business ideas, and where they can mentor and support you for a business idea and help you, I think that would be excellent. So please look out for that. And I will speak to the executive director of Helen's Daughters and see how possibly we can partner so that you guys can maybe be the first to benefit from that, okay? So by exploring these funding options and leveraging programs designed to support women entrepreneurs and rural women, we can secure the necessary resources to grow, sustain businesses effectively, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the challenges, and I'm trying to run through because I'm conscious it's 8 o'clock now, but please bear with me. We almost finish, and then you get a chance to ask me questions and for us to interact, right? Can I please repeat the website? Which one was that? The We Export. So WE_XPORT, We Export. That's to help with markets and access to financing, okay? Limited access to resources. So challenges. Rural women face barriers in accessing essential resources as land, capital, technology. We spoke about that, which is why I told you guys you've inspired me to be able to see if I can make a difference in getting capital and investments to people who ordinarily would not be able to get it. This can hinder their ability to start or scale their businesses effectively. Lack of education and training. Insufficient education and training in business management, marketing, and modern techniques can limit a woman's confidence and skill set, impacting their competitiveness in the market. Market access and competition. So normally rural women struggle to access larger markets due to geographical isolation. So if, for instance, you're in a far community in St. Kitts or in St. Vincent, or you're in the Grenadines, or even in somewhere in Soufrière, it's difficult to be able to compete with the larger markets. So you have your stuff, you have to get transportation to bring it to the market, to be able to sell it, and then the prices that the people are willing to pay is not that much. So all these things affect, which is why Helen's Daughters have been instrumental in creating those market spaces for you to be able to come bring in a customer base. And I hope that you guys see the benefit in that. Financial constraints. These are challenges, limited access to funding opportunities, high interest rates on loans, and a lack of financial literacy can create barriers to securing the necessary capital for growth. And I cannot stress that enough. The high interest and the lack of financial literacy. So if I have done anything over the last 3 sessions you've had with me, I would have hoped that I would have impacted a little bit knowledge in your financial literacy journey and that you are a little bit better off. And there's one thing you took out of this session that you can implement either in your personal or your business life, right? So let's look at some strategies for overcoming those challenges. So as you can see, I put a scale because yes, there will always be challenges. But what I want you all to know that with those challenges, the rewards are always so much greater, as demonstrated in my illustration. The rewards of knowing that these challenges came and you overcame them, you rise above them, right? So building social networks, forming cooperatives or joining existing women's group like Helen's Daughters. This can provide you with a collective voice, access to shared resources, and increased bargaining powers, right? Networking with entrepreneurs can also lead to valuable partnership and mentorship opportunities. My grandmother always used to say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So I spend a lot of time around people who are like-minded. And don't ever think that another woman is your competition. There's always something you can do better than her and she can do better than you. There's always something you can learn from her and she can learn from you. And that is the kind of attitude and mentality that helps us grow. Rather than looking, yes, there's a certain aspect of competition that's healthy. But when it becomes envious, it becomes a problem. So rely on your sister, support her, encouraging her, be happy for her when she does well, and be there to support her when she's not doing so well. And you will find all these things will help in building, keeping networks, partnerships, and creating mentorship opportunities. Education and training, like what Helen's Daughters is doing for you. Participating in things like financial literacy, business management, collaborating with organizations like Helen's Daughters and local institutions can provide access to these resources. Advocacy for gender equality. As women, often we don't speak out for ourselves. Our voices are silenced. Every opportunity you get, when you meet your minister, your representative for your home, speak about the inequalities and the challenges that you face, whether it be in business, as a farmer, as a mother. Speak for yourself. This is where sometimes we assume people know what we're going through, but we need to speak, engage in community discussions and advocacy efforts to challenge societal norms and promote gender equality in business that can help to create a more supportive environment for all entrepreneurs, but particularly for women entrepreneurs. Using technology, and that bit I cannot stress enough. Imagine tonight, 17th of October, 2024, I am sitting in my home and being able to speak to all of you all. How great is technology, right? Leveraging technology for marketing, sales. How many of you, when you finish this presentation tonight, will be on YouTube getting shorts or Instagram or TikTok or whatever the next thing is? Use these platforms instead of looking at things that don't add value to your life. Use them to be able to market your business, to get business ideas, to see what you can do to make your business better. So for every downfall to these things, there's so much more, but you can only get out of it what you want. So challenge yourself with the next time you're on TikTok or Instagram to put in the search consciously to look for something that has to benefit you, whether personally or for your business. Accessing financial literacy resources. So seeking out resources and training in financial management can help women better understand their budget, savings, and investments, allowing them to make informed financial decisions and improve their chances at securing funding. So tonight, you won't see me again. I may not be able to help many of you all because I have to go back to the day job where I have to make money. I will try to keep an eye on the email to help with guidance and advice. However, I may not be able to sit and help you with a business plan. I may not have the time to be able to do it. But what I want you to do is, again, I volunteer a lot of my time to be able to do stuff like that. If you become part of Helen's Daughters or any organization, it may not be me, but ask for those resources. This should not be a once a year thing. Financial literacy should be a continuous thing. So ask for it. These are things that if the organization don't know there's a need for it, they're not going to be able to do it. And I am somebody, I set aside volunteer hours to be able to help. So ask for it. And if I can volunteer again to be able to do another session to see where you are at, how any of the advice I've given you has helped and what we can do to go better, I would be more than happy to do that. Okay? I did send a business plan in the information in one of the 10 documents that I sent. Okay? Okay, just now I'll speak about calculated risk. Encouraging resilience and persistence. Sharing success stories among yourselves. If you have done something and it's done well, share it with your community. Let them know what you've done well, what your downfalls were, what you could have done better. And helping another woman perhaps not go through the same challenges that you do. There's nothing wrong with letting people know where you went wrong, how they can do better, so they don't make the same mistakes as you. Very much like our kids. All of us made mistakes as kids, as teenagers, that we don't want our kids to do. So we tell them about it so that they don't get to these places. Okay? Fostering a growth mindset. That is important. Most of everything I've spoken to you about over the last 3 weeks or the 3 sessions, if you're not willing to make a mindset shift of growth, nothing will change. So if you continuously tell me, oh, I'm not paying myself because it's free, I just doing it by myself, you are destined to fail or not do well or remain stagnant in your business. You have to develop a growth mindset. Viewing challenges as opportunities for learning growth can help you remain resilient. Emphasizing the importance of learning from failures. I cannot emphasize that enough. And adapting strategies that can empower you to continue striving for success. So when you get a hit, a fall, lean on your network and pick up yourself and do it again. But guess what? You do it better the next time, right? Creating a supportive environment. Even if you don't have a community, build a community that celebrates and uplifts women. And that can enhance your resilience. Encourage collaboration, sharing resources, and fostering a culture of mutual support. Some of us will sit here and we're not going to call our sister or anybody in our community to say, oh, how can I help you? I saw this resource. Let's go and apply for that. But you know what we do? We will sit there and get upset if they're doing better than us, right? Or we'll be happy to lavish in their downfall. We need to change that mindset. We need to figure out, if you have something, there's nothing wrong in sharing information. Because likewise, if that other person had some information that was useful to you and they shared it, it would probably benefit you. Okay? So by addressing all these challenges with effective strategies and fostering resilience, women can enhance their business success and contribute to economic development in their communities, right? So that one I wanted to talk to you all about, and I'm coming to the end, I promise. Value in your work. I wanted a whole little discussion for that. The key to business longevity. Understanding your worth as a woman entrepreneur. So I'm going back to that same story of last Sunday where the lady was selling her products so cheap compared to her counterpart. And her excuse was that she did it on her own. She knows how to do things, so she's not paying herself. Okay? Ladies, one of the most common challenges we face as women entrepreneurs is recognizing the true value of our work. Often there's a deep-rooted belief that our labor, especially in family-run businesses or home-based enterprises, doesn't warrant financial compensation. This mindset undervalues not only our hard work, but also impacts the sustainability and growth of our businesses. So let's see how we can shift that perspective and understand the crucial importance of paying ourselves. Why does paying yourself matter? You need to acknowledge the value of your time and effort. I cannot stress that enough. And tonight, I just want you all to believe that. Believe in yourself. Every hour you invest in your business has a value. Compensating yourself is not just about money. It's about respecting and recognizing your effort and contribution, right? It sets a tone, a professional tone. So again, we speak about investors. One thing investors don't like, and I was having this discussion with one of the potential investors for the program I'm tell you I'm hoping to plan and execute next year. And one of the things he was saying is that when he now somebody comes to him and asks them for them to invest in their business, one of the first things when he look at the book is how much money do you pay yourself? Where is it the figure that you pay yourself? You cannot sustain a business by not paying yourself. So paying yourself sets a professional tone, right? It sets a professional precedent. It shows that you are serious about your business and that it is a legitimate enterprise, which can influence how others, including potential investors or partners, perceive your business, right? Encouraging financial discipline. When you pay yourself a salary, it helps in better financial planning and management of business revenues and expenses. It makes you accountable and can lead to a more informed financial to make more informed financial decisions. Now, listen to that. I do understand that when you start a business, you may not be able to pay yourself. But what I'm saying is that tell yourself you have a salary, and there's an account called a liability account you can create. And perhaps you don't have QuickBooks, you cannot do it, but I can always show you how to do it, maybe at a subsequent thing. And the same way when you do it, take that money and put it in the liability. So guess what happens? When the business starts making money, then the business would have owed you all that money for what you put. So if you decide your salary is going to be $800, but you cannot afford to pay yourself at this time, the $800 sits in this virtual account waiting to be paid when the company has money. But pay yourself a salary. Paying yourself a salary boosts your self-worth and motivation. Regular compensation boosts morale and validates your hard work. It reinforces the belief that what you are doing is important and that you are worthy of a reward. Sustainability and growth. Ultimately, paying yourself can help ensure the sustainability of your business. It allows you to personally survive and thrive while running your business, leading to long-term growth and success. If you are not paying yourself, how are you going to manage? How are you going to pay your own personal bills? What people generally do, they take money and they do these things, but they're not paying yourselves. So I own a couple of businesses, and there's not one time where I take money out of my business and pay my house bill, my phone, my electricity. I don't do that. I pay myself, and from my salary, my house expenses are paid. So that disciplines me. That allows me to have a disciplined way of doing things. So I never ever use a company check to pay for groceries. I never ever use a company check to pay my phone bill. Right? And neither should you. Okay? Pay yourself a salary. So if, for instance, the house bills and everything you take in the money to pay was going to be 600, tell yourself the 600 is your salary and put it in and pay your personal self. That is the only way you're going to know, right? So you need to start by implementing change. And I recognize that not everybody can do all of this at once. So start small. Begin by setting a small amount aside, manageable portions of the business earning as your personal salary. Educate yourself and others. Understand the basics of financial management. Attend workshops, use online resources, and share this knowledge with your peers. Reinvest in your business. So if you pay yourself a salary and the business needed money to buy something, then you take that money and you put it back in the business as capital. Reinvest in the business to ensure its continued growth while still ensuring that you are compensated. Don't hesitate to contact a financial advisor with experience, business knowledge to do that, right? Now, ladies, remember your work adds immense value to your business and community. Paying yourself is not just a right, it's a strategic business decision that underscores the importance of your contribution and leads for greater business longevity. So let's start valuing your work and yourselves today for a brighter and more sustainable tomorrow, okay? So I really wanted to make sure I tell you that today. So just a recap of what we've gone through for the last 3 sessions. Over the past 3 weeks, we have embarked on a comprehensive journey to deepen your understanding of personal finance and its significant impact on both our personal lives and business operations. Each session was designed to equip you with the knowledge and tools necessary to navigate the complexities of the financial landscape that entrepreneurs often face. Okay, in our first session, we focus on the fundamentals of personal finance, exploring effective strategies for managing your income, expenses, savings, and investments. Understanding those 3 elements is crucial, and they directly influence the financial health of your business. We discussed the importance of creating a budget, setting financial goals, and the need for regular financial review to ensure you stay on track. I hope you remember that from the first session. On the second session, we looked at the critical areas of credit. We discussed how to access credit, how access to credit can serve as a lifeline for your business, but also cautioned against predatory lending practices. These unethical practices can have detrimental effects not only on your business's financial stability, but also on your family's welfare. I also emphasize the importance of understanding the terms of credit agreements, recognizing red flags and knowing your rights as a borrower, right? So do not sign things that you have read. Do not always ask for a copy of what you've signed. Ask about interest rate, ask about the things that you need, right? In our third and final session tonight, we looked at the importance of being diligent when dealing with financial documents. I think we did that last week too. We stressed on the necessity regarding documents, thoroughly signing it, asking for copies of any mandatory insurances associated with loans, and ensuring you obtain a copy of every document you sign. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is. I want to continue to highlight and remind everybody to approach seemingly attractive offers with skepticism. We also touched upon the sensitive topic of financial abuse, discussing how it disproportionately affects women and the importance of recognizing the signs. Empowering yourselves with the knowledge can serve as first line for defense against such abuse. This is real. So there's domestic violence where people get beaten. There's also financial abuse. I want you all to remember that and know who your resource point is, whether it be your social worker, the police, even if it's you are Helen's Daughters members and it's your coordinator, reach out if you feel you've been affected by this. Finally, we circle back to the essence of value in your work. As entrepreneurs, it's vital to pay yourself appropriately. Recognizing the worth of your labor not only affirms your value, but also ensures the sustainability of your business. As we conclude this program, I want you to remember that financial literacy is not just about managing your money. It's about fostering freedom, stability, and confidence in your entrepreneurial journey. Take what you've learned here and apply it with commitment and mindfulness. Your path as an entrepreneur is not just about sustaining a business, but also thriving in every aspect of your financial life. Okay? I'm not sure if I'm going to open the floor for discussions. I will stay with you for a little while. And after we finish the sessions, I just want to give you all a little bit of motivation. So I'm opening the floor for questions now. So we can go, it's now 8:20, we can go to 8:30, 10 minutes of questions, and we'll see how that goes. So the floor is open now for everybody to ask questions.
Okay. We have Cynthia Spencer with her hand up.
No problem.
Miss Daniel, good
Hi.
evening again.
Hi.
I really enjoyed all 3 sessions. It has opened my mind, opened up a lot of things for me to do properly and to begin. But you said something that about calculated risk.
Mhm.
Can you explain this to me, please, again?
Okay, so every business decision you make, there's some element of risk involved. So that may mean that you have a full-time job and you have a side business. How are you going to decide whether you leave that full-time job and go and take up your position to put all your time and effort in your business? So you now have calculated simply means that you're going to weigh your options, decide which one is riskier. Do you give up a job that you've had for a long time with a pension plan that you work for the same salary every month? Or are you going to take a complete risk and look for financial freedom because you believe so much in your product and you know you can do and make it work for yourself? So when I speak of calculated risk, I speak of how are you able to quantify or justify doing something and whilst assessing and recognizing the risk that it entails. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and can I say that I have to make that decision
Mhm.
that if I feel comfortable in leaving that job after I realize that I can push my product, I take that risk because presently I want to do something because of Helen Daughters, okay? But I want to make sure it gets off the ground properly before I leave where I am.
Okay, so we spoke about in the first session about having 6 months of your expenses always.
Yes.
So that's a good way to start. So if you haven't gotten to that point yet, perhaps you can think about saving for 6 months of your expenses, not just for personal, but for the business as well. That is where the first 6 months, the next 6 months will come in within that transition period for you, if you so decide to go that way, where you have a solid business plan, where you do a cash flow, where you budget, so this is where you're going to calculate the risk.
Okay.
Decide whether this is going to work, right? But give yourself some time to do it. And when you make that decision, you have to believe, you have to commit, you have to be mindful, and you have to stick to it. Because like I said, there will be challenges, but there's nothing that is makes you more financially free, but working for yourself. And there's a satisfaction to it that I cannot explain.
Yes, and again, you said something which I like about, in other words, find your passion in what you want to do. You have to be passionate. So people just go into things to make money, but if you have a passion for this, you will come through.
No. So let me correct you. If you're not going into it to make money, then there's a problem too, because money is finite. So money has to be part of the goal. And most businesses we start is for money. If you're not doing a business for money, then something's wrong. It means you're spending somebody else's money that you didn't work for. Money should always be the goal, or except if you're into a non-profit, and you have so much money at your disposal, you have thing, then that's fine. Money motivates me. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you all you shouldn't go into it for money. Money is always the motivator. However, to be able to sustain that business, they have to have a level of passion and commitment.
Yes.
Right? Now, the passion and commitment and money, it has to be hand in hand. You can have passion and commitment and no money, the business will go nowhere. And if you have no money and you have passion and commitment, you still have no business. So the two are mutually inclusive of each other. They're not separate, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
You have to want to make money. The drive for business is to be able to make money. That's how you're going to do well. You're going to do better. And then when you reach a certain point where you are comfortable that the business is making much money. And I always want you to think about that. You cannot help people before you help yourself.
Amen.
When your business gets to a point where now you can volunteer your time to do what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Then you give back. Then you go back and you do other things. But I can tell you that if you have a passion and a skill for something, and you are driven for financial freedom, not just for yourself and your family, you will make it. And as women, we have that tenacity in us. We make children. We have divorces. So many things happen to us, and we rise above it. So think about all the challenges you've had in your life. I'm not speaking about you particularly because I don't know your situation, but think about all the struggles you've gone through, and you're still here today on this financial literacy. So if you decide you want a business, there's nothing you cannot do. Put your mind to it. However, not every idea is a good idea or a great idea. I'm not going to lie to you all. So if somebody comes to me and tell me they want to do that, I'll be like, really? How are you going to do that? Does that make any sense? Think again. Let's go back to the drawing board. You understand?
Yes.
So that is my thing about it. So if there's something, there's a potential, there's a market, there's longevity. Also, who wants to open a business that's going to last for 6 months? Nobody. You want a business that will continue, will see the test of time.
Yes.
Okay? Because if you have a business that just lasts 3 months, every 3 months you'll be starting a new one.
Yes.
Right.
I got a call yesterday from a financial institution asking me to take a loan from them if I want a loan from them. And I remember you asked about the interest, find out from the interest, but they said the first month is free. You don't pay any interest.
No. But did you ask the interest?
I asked.
And how much did he say?
He said 2.9%.
So multiply that by 12.
I said on the reducing balance.
2.9.
Yes, so she
multiply by
tell me
12.
she does not know. She'll call me back. So she called me back.
So listen to that. Listen to that. 2.9 multiplied by 12. And I almost certainly know which institution that's there. The interest rate is actually 34.8%. Because I had 2 people go and check on this because they were selling it. And anytime somebody calls you for a loan, that already tells, right? And I'm almost certain I know what institution. And 2.9, that's mean
Yes.
monthly. The same way the credit union tell you is 1% and it's 12. 2.9% reflects an annual interest rate of 34%. 34.8%, almost 45%. That I would be so disappointed if any of you did that, even though you were dead broke and it had to save you. Trust me, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. So stay away from these calls and then challenge those people. Let them know that they're just trying to trap you into a cycle of debt.
Well, I told them I don't
Nobody should be
need it.
borrowing at 35%. That means, do you know what that means? For every dollar you borrow from them, you'll be paying them back 35 cents. Does that make
Wow.
sense?
No.
Every dollar you
That's no
borrow from
problem.
them, you'll be paying them back 35 cents. Okay? So
Yeah.
think very much, definitely loan shark. Definitely loan shark. Okay? And
I thank
we
God
didn't have
you
these things
brought
in the
that up to
Caribbean.
us.
Yeah, we didn't have these things in the Caribbean, but with the advent of social media and materialistic things and somewhat greed and morality is changing, I find it's becoming more prevalent and people are actually going for these things. So please avoid them. But I have to move on to the next person now, if that's
Thank you
okay.
Yes,
very
And
please,
much,
if you
because
need
now,
Virginia.
anything, email me.
okay,
Yeah,
no,
email
hi,
me.
good
Okay.
night. So we have 4 persons with their hands up. So I think if it's okay with you, we can take those
That's
final
okay.
4.
That's okay.
So
That's
it would
okay.
be in this order: Venetia Elliott, Delia Joseph, Robertina Edwin, and Elsa Lewis. Those are the final 4 questions, please, in that order. Go ahead, please, Venetia.
Venetia, we
Venetia,
can't
we are
hear
not
you.
hearing you.
Okay, so go on to the next person.
So
We
we'll
can come
move
back to
on to
Venetia.
Delia. Hopefully, Venetia get her
Okay.
mic started out. Go ahead,
Can you hear
please.
me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
I
hear
can.
you.
Okay. All right. I was asking regarding the business name that you spoke about and the company. At what point do you do a business name for your business or a company for your business?
Okay, so very good question. Great question, but there is no point. It depends on your own financial resources, where you are at in your business, what is it you want. So again, setting up a company is more costly. It can cost up to $5,000 just to set it up. So perhaps you can start by doing a business name. A business name has its advantages for very small businesses, but as you start to grow and the liabilities become greater on your personal selves, you may consider a company. So I'm not sure there's a particular point. It's just you're looking at it. If you decide it's a company, maybe wait and save and start a company. Again, it's entirely up to you. On a discussion, you can email me about your personal circumstances and perhaps I could better advise you. Okay?
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Venetia, do you want to try again? Okay, we are still not hearing you. Robertina, you may ask your question, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, all. Let me just comment and say this has been a very, very powerful session, and I don't think the financial institutions are going to like you for it. But we
They
all
don't. I can tell you already, they don't. I have trouble with them every day.
oh my goodness. Yeah, but just to add to your calculation of the annual interest rate, what the bank would have done, and I would have done some research on it, we need to also look at the effective interest rate, which is much higher. So if your annual is about 34%, your effective interest rate, what you are effectively paying the bank, is much more than 35%. And that is what they are
I'm
looking
almost certain, Robertina, that was not a bank. I know who it was. It was not a bank.
at. It's really high.
Can you hear me now?
Because that would be illegal for the banks to do that. Yeah.
Hello?
Okay, my question
Yeah.
has to
Hold on,
do
hold
with,
on, hold on.
Venetia,
Hold on for a minute.
after Robertina, please. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, after Robertina, yeah.
Okay, my question has to do with the mortgage insurance. I wasn't too clear on what you said. Are you saying that whenever a mortgage is taken out, there's automatic insurance to cover that mortgage? I wasn't understanding clearly.
Yes, these days there is certainly. And if you check, I don't know if you remember the first session we did, I showed you a mortgage thing. Yeah, there is insurance. It is normally computed on your age, your health. Imagine the banks now even having you to do a health test. If your blood pressure is higher, your cholesterol is higher, then the insurance rates changes. There is almost certainly an insurance for every, because the bank mitigates their risk at your expense. So anybody with a mortgage, go and ask the bank. It's not too late. Can I have a copy of my insurance that I pay for every year? Can I get the schedule with it as well? Okay, there is an insurance, so in case you die, their money gets covered. The other day, I don't know if I told you that I had a client that he got prostate cancer and he had an insurance and the bank was giving him trouble. And after I read the fine print of it, he was actually entitled for a mortgage payout. And after about maybe 7 months of writing backward and forward, the client actually got his mortgage paid. He's still alive, but he got his mortgage paid because one of the clauses was that. But a lot of us do not read the insurances. And the bank automatically adds these policies onto our mortgages and calculates interest on it. They don't
So
even let you pay for it in case it lapses. So
oh,
prior to, I believe before they used to let people pay their insurances on their own, but now it's standard procedure that it comes with the mortgage. They have their own companies that they work with and they do the mortgage, and every year they pay the insurance for you directly from your mortgage.
All right. Thank you. Robertina, does that answer your question for you?
You can hear now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
so
could have pressed this in error. I'm sorry. I was just following up on what you just said. I do have a mortgage, and I note that the insurance that the bank would send me a form every year to renew that insurance. So I was a little confused as to what you were saying versus if they have an automatic insurance that they should be paying, why am I paying that insurance? Was the question I had.
No. So that's okay. So that's probably it. If they send you a form to renew it, that's probably it. But there's always an insurance attached to normally attached to a mortgage. So they are just making sure that you keep up with it and make sure it's paid, right?
Oh yes. Okay. All right then.
Right.
No
So
problem.
that's it. But make sure you have a copy of it.
Oh,
And
well,
also you should get a copy of your mortgage.
I do have copies of every details and every step, and I was a nuisance to them,
Good.
so I know exactly what it is.
Good.
I was a little concerned about
Good.
whether I should be paying it or they automatically should be paying it as the organize.
No, it depends. It depends. Sometimes you pay it, sometimes they pay it. But if you don't pay it, there is a rider in mortgage that says that they could pay it and put it on your mortgage at the same interest rate your mortgage is.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. But thank you very much for a
Yeah.
wonderfully
No
informative
problem.
session. I do appreciate
No problem.
it. We all would have learned a lot, and we really will keep in touch with you thereafter.
No problem. No problem. So Valerie, who was the other person that was trying to go?
Venetia, do you want to try before? And then we'll take Elsa. Elsa will be the final question for the night. Venetia?
Hello, good night. Thank you, Miss Danielle. You're hearing me now?
No problem.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, so perhaps I think I would call it a lapse in judgment. So if you've already left your job in pursuit of entrepreneurship, right? And then you don't have the capital that it takes to fund the business and get the business fully operational. What is the option at that point in time? Because you're already not working, you're already unemployed. So what advice do you have?
So unfortunately for you, again, I don't know if you'd have read the scenarios that I sent. Most banks would borrow if you don't have a steady income, even if it's for a business, because they know that they can get a salary assignment, their loans are paid off. I'm not sure what your business entails and if there's any way you need minimal injection to inject. So I'm going to use a hypothetical. I don't know what you're doing and you don't need to tell me. Let's say hypothetically you were making juices and you can maybe pick some mangoes from your tree and make some juice to start off. And whatever profits you made from that, you always have to remember to remove your cost and the profits you reinvested to go bigger, go bigger. If there's an option for you to do that, then you can do that. What I would tell you is whatever you do, keep records. again, look at the grant funding. But if you haven't been in business for 2 years, a lot of them require some level of accountability to show that you have been in business, what you have been doing. A great business plan alone does not get you funding, unfortunately. Again, people like yourselves is why I am inspired to do this investment type thing where women will get to pitch their ideas to a set of investors to be able to determine whether or not they can get some money invested in their business for accountability and mentorship included, right? So again, you can email me personally. Maybe you can share a bit of your details so I can better inform you, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
So
And
we
then the
now take
last question, and after that, I just need to speak. Final question, and then I just have one more thing to go through with you all, and then we end. Yes.
Elsa, the mic is yours.
Hi, good night again. Good night, Miss Daniel. Sorry that I did have to leave earlier, so I didn't get much. When I left, I heard you all was talking about your business plan and how if you're supposed to get a grant, which I have a small business and I'm working. One of the questions I want to ask you and I need your advice. I too I'm working and I have my side business. I want to leave my work and go fully into my business because my business is key. Like people calling for things and I don't have enough time to make the things. And that's one of my problems. And
Okay, so
sometimes
that's a very good question. That's where we go about calculated risk. So we spoke earlier about okay, when we spoke about the first part, always make sure you have a cushion net of at least 6 months for personal. You should do the same for business. If your business is already running, you should be keeping record keeping. So you'll be able to know that if you give up your job, how much more productivity you're going to have and how much more money you will make. You need to do a little assessment and to determine whether that money will be able to cover the current expenses you have. So when you've done all that and you've created a cash flow, done a budget, create a plan of where you want to be in 6 months and whether you can get there and what you need to do. So I don't know what your business is. You can always email me. Let's say you're making cake at the moment and you have so many orders for cake and people are not getting the cakes they want. However, if you were to give up your business, you can quadruple by 4 times increase your production and you do have the market for it already. Is that going to be viable enough for you to continue the business? Also, is your business seasonal? Can you give up your job and can it sustain you just for the period of time that there's a height increase? Or will it be something that happens all the time? Okay, so these are the things I would like you to be able to determine. But if you are going to leave your job, I would say give yourself some time to make a viable plan. Have some safety net, including 6 months for your personal and another 6 months at least. It should be more, but that's the least I think I would recommend. 6 months for the business. So after you've created a budget and a cash flow plan for the business, make sure you have at least 6 months of that. So when you do that now, then you move on to the next step. Okay, make sure you have the proper resources, the requirements, make sure you have a separate bank account. A lot of the things we spoke about, if you're going to employ people, make sure you comply, because a lot of people fall back because, let's say, for instance, they don't pay the liabilities for the NIC, but then it's still a liability to you. Even if you don't pay it, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, it's still there for you to pay. So if you have any personal liabilities yourself, how do you reduce that within the 6 months to be able to put yourself in a better standing so you don't have to worry about these things? So for instance, if you have a mortgage still, or if you have a consumer loan, how are you going to manage with these things that you possibly need for the business if the business is being done in your home? So I want you to think about all these things before you do it. If you need some basic help, you can email me. Again, my response time can be good, can be bad, but I will try and respond to everybody, okay?
Well, before
So
you
let
leave,
me-
I want to ask you this other question concerning your NIS. Remember, if you're working, it is paying. So if you leave your business and you're not reached to the age of retirement, what do? You continue pay your NIS on your own?
You can. So in St. Lucia, I'm not sure for St. Vincent, but I can always find out for you. Or you can go to the NIC office in St. Vincent and find out. In St. Lucia, you have a minimum contribution number of years to make for you to get a pension. So it doesn't matter if
Right.
you reach the retirement age, as long as you've made the minimum age. So I don't know if it's 20 or 30 years, you will still get a pension, even though it's a small one. However, even if you've contributed and you leave your job and you don't qualify for the pension, in St. Lucia, you can opt to get 70% of what your contribution was back. Yeah, as a lump sum. Okay? So you now need to go
Okay.
to the NIS office, but there's always an option. I know in St. Lucia, if you are self-employed, there is a basic rate of $50 per month you pay, regardless of what income you make, to contribute towards your NIC as a self-employed person. It's a basic rate of $50. So if you're self-employed, even if you're not working and you have $50 to spare, I say pay your NIC, because it will help you if you have to go to the hospital, towards your pension. So for those of you who have spoken and says, I'm not working, I left my job to start that, I think you should consider at least paying your NIC. So it's a basic form you fill out saying that you're self-employed. You go in and I think it's $50 a month. That is good for you to be able to pay to be able to protect yourself for the future. Okay?
Okay, thanks a
So
lot.
if that ends the question, no problem. Let me just move on to the last thing. So I just wanted to thank everybody. This is my information there, this email. Unfortunately, I'm not available on WhatsApp for help with these things. You email me and I will try my best to respond in good time. So ladies, we have come to the end of our session today, and I want to take the moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for being here. Your willingness to learn and engage. It is important. It is an important discussion about financial literacy and value in your work. Is a testament to your commitment to your entrepreneurial journey. As you step back into your daily lives and businesses, remember, you are not just entrepreneurs. You are the backbone of your communities. Your hard work and dedication have the power to transform not only your lives, but the lives of those around you. Embrace your worth and take pride in what you do. Every effort you put into your business deserves recognition and compensation. By valuing yourself and your work, you are setting a strong foundation for your business to thrive. I encourage you to take the knowledge and insights you've learned today, implement them in your lives. Start by establishing a fair wage for yourself, tracking your contribution, and continuously seeking ways to grow and improve your business. Remember, each step you take brings you closer to your goals. And in closing, I want you to believe in your potential, support one another, and continue to uplift the women in your community. Together, we can create a network of empowered women, entrepreneurs who do not only succeed, but also will inspire future generations. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing all of you and all the incredible things you would have achieved. So please keep my email address, send me, don't not just call me for advice, but any good things that are happening as a result of your financial literacy that you've attained. Keep me updated. I'd love to know how you all are doing in 3 months, in 6 months. Just mention that you did the Ag-cademy with me. Doesn't matter where I am in the world, I promise you I will respond. And I would be very happy to hear about some success stories that elevated from here. And also, remember I told you I'm trying to create something to help to get investors to invest in women. And I'm hoping it's going to come up at the end of the year. So start your record keeping, because that will be a criteria. Okay, and look at the grants that I spoke about. Look at the thing that Tiflin posted in the group today. And if there's any way I can help, please send me a message. So thank you again, everybody. I am sorry I took so much of your time. I appreciate you all, and all the best in all you do, business-wise and otherwise, okay?
Well, passion. Well, we want to say a big special thank you to you also, Miss David Daniel. I might say over the course of this session, we have gained so many valuable insights into knowing how to, even tonight, the taxes, the regulation, and all the strategies that will strengthen our agricultural businesses. We want to thank you so much for sharing your expertise and guiding us through some of these complex but critical topics. I know that the knowledge we've gained here will help us to continue to grow and to contribute to the sustainability of our agricultural sector. We definitely will take what we've learned and apply it, keeping in mind that success in business comes from informed decision, persistence, and of course, a commitment to innovation, which you have mentioned quite a few times during this session. So thank you so much. Thank you again. And we definitely look forward to following up with you in the future so that you can see the impact of your sessions, of these discussions in the months and years ahead. Thank you so much
I
again.
appreciate
And
that.
ladies,
I appreciate
yes,
that. And good night, ladies. Good night.
yes,
Good
good
night.
night.
Good night,
Yeah,
Miss Daniel.
bye, everyone.
Good
Bye.
night. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Night,
Good
everyone.
Bye.
No
morning.
Good
problem.
night, everybody.
All right.
Good night,
Take care. See
everybody.
you. Bye-bye. Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.